Welcome to Reddit Stories, where OP's sister removes her as a bridesmaid because she hasn't lost enough weight. My sister uninvited me from her wedding for not losing weight, so now I'm refusing to give her money. This whole situation is a mess and my family's divided, so I need an outside perspective. My sister Emma, who's 28, is getting married in 3 months. I, 25, female, am her only sister, and up until recently, I was supposed to be one of her bridesmaids. I've always been on the bigger side, not severely overweight, just plus-sized. The kind of person who's always been told to watch what you eat while her thinner sister gets praised for having a naturally good metabolism. Emma's always been the slim one, the graceful one, the photogenic one. She's also been the type to give compliments that sound more like gentle reminders to change. But she's my sister, so I learned to just shrug it off and move on. When she got engaged last year, she asked me to be a bridesmaid. I was genuinely touched. She showed me the dress that she picked out, a pale blush color with a fitted top and flowing skirt, and I thought it was lovely. I didn't even mind that it wasn't exactly flattering on me. It was her day, not mine. Things were fine until about 2 months ago when we went for a bridesmaid dress fitting. The dress fit, but it was snug around my middle. The woman helping us said she could easily order the next size up. I was relieved. But as soon as we stepped outside, Emma pulled me aside. She told me she really wanted me to try to slim down before the wedding. She said she just wanted everyone to look their best. I tried to laugh it off, even though it stung. I told her I'd do my best. Truthfully, I didn't try. I've spent most of my life dieting, crying over scales, and feeling like a project instead of a person. I'm done starving myself for other people's approval. About a month later, she texted me, "Have you lost any weight yet?" I told her honestly, "Not really, maybe a few pounds." She replied almost instantly, "That's not enough. You need to really commit if you want to look good in the photos." That was the moment something inside me just snapped. I told her I wasn't going to lose 50 pounds in 2 months, and even if I could, it wouldn't be healthy. She accused me of not taking her wedding seriously. A week later, she called. I remember her tone was overly calm, like she had practiced what she was going to say. She told me she had decided to have her fiance's sister be a bridesmaid instead of me. She said it wasn't about my weight, it was about the aesthetic that she wanted. I was too stunned to even respond for a second. Then I asked, "Are you seriously kicking me out of your wedding party because I'm not thin enough?" She said it wasn't about that, it was about keeping things cohesive, whatever that means. When we hung up, I cried for 2 hours. I wasn't just embarrassed, I was humiliated. I had been pushed out of my own sister's wedding because I didn't fit her vision of perfection. A few days later, she called again. She sounded cheerful, like nothing had happened. She said she still wanted me at the wedding as a guest, of course. Then she said she needed a favor. Turns out, she's gone over budget. She needs about $3,000 to cover the photographer and decorations. She knows I've been saving, around $8,000 total, and she wanted to know if I could loan her the money. I asked if she was joking. She said no, she was serious. I told her absolutely not. She went quiet, then asked why. I told her straight up that she had uninvited me from her wedding party because I'm fat, and now she's asking me for money? No way. She started crying, said I was being petty, said family should help family, said this was her special day and I should want to contribute. I reminded her that I wasn't even part of her bridal party anymore by her choice. That's when she said the line that really got me. "You're proving you don't love me if you won't help me." I hung up again. Then my phone started lighting up. My mom called to tell me I should just give Emma the money because it's her wedding and I'll regret not helping her later. My dad said Emma was wrong to exclude me, but also told me to be the bigger person. He chuckled after saying that, probably without realizing the irony. Now, Emma's telling everyone I'm jealous of her. She says I'm trying to ruin her wedding. Some relatives think I'm selfish, others are calling her a bridezilla. I keep thinking back to all the times I supported her, buying dresses with her, helping her move, listening to her complain about work. And now, I'm apparently the villain because I won't fund the party I was kicked out of. Do I feel bad? Yeah, she's still my sister. But I'm also done bending over backwards for someone who only sees me as useful when she needs something. She's marrying a guy who seems nice enough, But if this is how she acts when she doesn't get her way, I don't see this marriage being smooth sailing. So no, I didn't give her the money. And if that makes me the jerk, then so be it. But if love means paying someone to insult you and still show up smiling in their photos, then maybe I'd rather not be part of that kind of relationship anymore. Edit. No, I don't think I'll ever get the money back if I loan it to her. Emma's borrowed money from family before and never paid it back. And again, yes, I'm still invited to the wedding as a guest, just not in the wedding party. Apparently, I can sit in the audience while being fat, but I can't stand next to her in photos while being fat. I'm probably not going to the wedding at all at this point, to be honest. Be the bigger person, huh? I'd say you've already done that, literally and metaphorically. You've been carrying her ego on your shoulders this whole time. Take that $3,000 and book yourself a spa weekend during her wedding. Post a picture captioned, "Celebrating my weight being lifted." You'll be glowing and she'll be fuming. You're absolutely right to not give her a cent. She humiliated you and is now trying to guilt you into paying for the same wedding she kicked you out of. That's manipulation, plain and simple. She's not sorry for how she treated you. She's sorry that her budget fell apart. People like your sister thrive on double standards. You're petty for not lending money, but she's not petty for uninviting you over your body? No, don't let guilt make you finance her vanity project. Save your money for your future, not her photo shoot. And honestly, I wouldn't go to the wedding either. If she didn't want you in the pictures, she doesn't deserve your presence in the audience. She doesn't want you in her photos, but she wants you in her wallet. That's a user. Tell her to call the new photogenic bridesmaid for a loan. You're not her backup bank account just because she doesn't like how you look in pastel. Cut her off and enjoy watching her aesthetic crumble without your help. So, she kicked her sister out of the bridal lineup for being off-theme, but she still wants her cash? Apparently, she's too big for the photos, but just the right size for the bank loan. That's rich. She wants emotional support, financial support, just not visible support. Guess she'll have to Photoshop generosity into the pictures too. My neighbor told me about a woman who visits my boyfriend when I'm gone. We're both 22 and my neighbor is 70. This might sound small, but my gut hasn't stopped turning since it happened. I've been with my boyfriend for 3 years. We moved in together last year into a quiet little neighborhood where most people are older and friendly. One of them, a woman in her 70s who lives next door, has kind of adopted me as her young friend. She's always out on her porch with her tea, chatting with the mailman, keeping an eye on everyone's comings and goings. She's sweet, harmless, and knows everyone's business before anyone else does. This morning, she caught me as I was heading to work. She looked nervous, the kind of nervous that makes your chest tighten before you even know why. She said she had something to tell me, but I had to promise not to get angry. I laughed a little and told her that she could never make me mad. Then she said it, that a young woman had been coming to my house while I was gone. She said it had happened a few times, that the woman usually came when my car wasn't there, stayed for about an hour or two, and then left before I got back. And every time she left, she hugged my boyfriend and kissed him goodbye. I asked if she was sure, and she nodded like she wished she wasn't. I think my heart stopped. I couldn't even form a full sentence. She told me not to jump to conclusions, that maybe it was something innocent. But what about it sounds innocent? I thanked her for telling me and I walked back inside, but I couldn't think straight the rest of the day. The thing is, I've never had a reason not to trust him. He's never been shady, never hidden his phone, never acted weird. He started working overtime recently, but I've seen the proof of his paychecks. One of my friends even works at the same company and said they've all been swamped. Still, I couldn't shake it. My brain kept looping in the same image. Another woman walking into my home, hugging my boyfriend, and leaving before I came back. I'm not someone who likes confrontation, but this feels too big to ignore. I don't want to accuse him of something that he didn't do, but I also can't act like nothing happened. Do I just ask him directly who this woman is, or do I wait and try to catch her? I don't even know what I'm hoping for anymore. Maybe that my neighbor's eyes played tricks on her. Maybe that it's just some misunderstanding. But right now, all I feel is sick. 2 approaches. 1. Hey, who's the woman who visits when I'm not home? 2. I know about the woman you're seeing. You have one chance to tell me the truth right now, or you're moving out today. If you think he might react badly, have a few friends nearby for support. Give your neighbor your number. Ask her to call you next time she sees the visitor. That way you can catch them in real time and see for yourself what's happening. It might sound silly, but make sure your neighbor isn't mixing you up with someone else. People forget faces sometimes, especially from far away. Still, trust your instincts. They usually don't scream for nothing. Update. I almost didn't write this because I feel ridiculous, but it's only fair after how kind everyone was last time. I confronted my boyfriend the next morning. I barely slept the night before, pacing around, trying to decide how to say it. When he came into the kitchen, I just blurted it out, that someone had seen a woman coming over when I wasn't home. At first, he looked confused, then to my shock, he laughed. Not meanly, but just this quiet, relieved sort of laugh. I thought he was losing it. When I asked what was so funny, he shook his head and said, "Oh, this is going to sound bad, isn't it?" Turns out, the mysterious woman was my best friend, the same one who helped me pick out his birthday gift last year. She'd been coming over to help him look at engagement rings and plan a proposal. He showed me everything, messages, photos, even sketches of how he wanted to set it up. He said he had been saving from his overtime pay to buy the ring. Apparently, my neighbor saw her twice and must have assumed the worst. I called my friend right after. She couldn't stop laughing. She said she'd been trying to keep it secret for months, and now the whole surprise was blown. I can't even describe how embarrassed I felt. I spent several hours imagining betrayal when the truth was literally a proposal in the making. I apologized to him, though he didn't seem angry. He said he probably would have thought the same thing if the roles were reversed. My neighbor was thrilled when I told her the truth. She even cried a little and said she was just happy it wasn't what she feared. Looking back, there were so many clues I missed. My friend had been casually asking what kind of ring I liked. He'd been acting jumpy whenever I came home early. It all makes sense now. So yeah, no cheating, just a ruined proposal. He says he's still going to ask, just in a different way now that the surprise is gone. For anyone wondering, yes. When he asks, I'm saying yes. This story could have been a nightmare, but it turned into something genuinely sweet. Tell your neighbor she's an honorary bridesmaid for almost giving you a heart attack. And honestly, your boyfriend sounds like a keeper if he laughed instead of blowing up. So the neighbor went from neighborhood watch to proposal patrol. She saw one hug and started writing the season finale of Cheaters, Suburbs Edition. Hey, you can't blame her. She thought she was protecting the block from heartbreak. And instead, she ruined the surprise. Grandma turned love detective into spoiler alert. Entitled cousin ruined his life after a family reunion. If someone had told me that a family reunion would end with one of my cousins sitting in a jail cell, I'd have thought they were exaggerating. But that's exactly what happened this year, and I still can't believe it. I'm 31, male, and my cousin, who's 30, we'll call him Jake, has always considered himself the favorite of all the grandkids. He never said it as a joke either. He actually believed it. And to be fair, our grandparents did spend a lot of time with him, but only because he lived 5 minutes away. The rest of us live in different states, some hours away. I'm the farthest one out, 13 hours away by car, so naturally, I wasn't dropping by every weekend for coffee. But Jake took that proximity and turned it into a personality. He bragged about how close he and Grandpa were, how Grandpa trusted him the most, how he was basically the heir to everything. Even his parents, my aunt and uncle, who are some of the nicest, most level-headed people I know, have called him out more than once. Didn't help. Jake just brushed it off every time like we were jealous. Last August, our family held a big reunion at Grandpa's house. He's 92 now, but still sharp as a tack. Grandpa's always been hands-on, the kind of man who rebuilds old cars with his own 2 hands and still insists on cooking at every family gathering. He's been doing that since Grandma passed 10 years ago. It's like his way of keeping her presence alive. The day was picture perfect. The grill was going, kids were running around, and everyone was catching up under the shade of the old oak tree in the backyard. It felt like one of those days where nothing could go wrong. Then, Jake decided to remind us who the favorite was. At first, it was small comments. Things like, "You all know Grandpa will probably give me the house, right?" Or, When I get the cars, I'll keep them in mint condition. The rest of us just ignored him, hoping he'd stop, but he didn't. He started getting louder and more smug. Someone tried to change the subject, but it didn't work. Jake smirked and said, "What? It's not like anyone else here knows how to appreciate them." And then, right in the middle of dinner, he turned to Grandpa and said, "Come on, Gramps. Tell them I'm not lying. They keep teasing me about being your favorite. You can just admit it." You could feel the air go tight. Grandpa looked up, calm as always, and said, "Jake, I've already made my decision. When I'm gone, everything will be sold, and the money will be divided equally among all 9 of you." Jake froze. He stared at him like he had just heard the wrong language. Then he asked, "Even Erin?" Now, Erin, who's 25, female, is our step-cousin. She's become part of the family when she was 12 after her mom married our uncle. She's kind, polite, and the type who goes out of her way to help everyone without asking for credit. Grandpa's always treated her like one of his own, no questions asked. Grandpa nodded and said yes. That's when Jake lost it. He started yelling, not just at Grandpa, but at everyone. Said he was the only one who cared about Grandpa, that the rest of us were leechers who only showed up for his money. He said Erin didn't count because she wasn't real blood. It was the ugliest I'd ever seen him act. My aunt looked like she wanted to sink into the ground. My uncle told Jake to sit down, but he stormed off, muttering about how the family was turning against him. Grandpa just quietly went inside the house, and when he came back out, Jake was gone. We thought that was the end of it, just another blow-up in a long line of Jake's ego trips. But a few days ago, I got a call that made my jaw drop. Jake had been arrested. He broke into Grandpa's garage in the middle of the night and tried to steal one of his classic cars. Here's the kicker. The car didn't even work. It didn't have an engine yet. Grandpa and my uncle had been rebuilding it slowly over the past few years, so Jake basically tried to steal a shell of a vehicle. A neighbor saw the garage lights flickering on around midnight and noticed someone moving inside. They called the police. When the cops arrived, Jake was sitting in the driver's seat, apparently trying to start it. He was arrested for attempted theft and trespassing. Grandpa didn't bail him out, neither did his parents. Grandpa even called his lawyer the next morning and set up a meeting to have Jake removed from the will entirely. When I heard that, I didn't even feel surprised, just sad. Because the thing is, Jake had a good life. He had a stable job at a mining company, a college degree, a solid income, and a decent reputation in town. He wasn't desperate. He wasn't struggling. He was just entitled. He couldn't handle being told that he wasn't special. And the most heartbreaking part? Grandpa's devastated. He's always been patient, but this crossed a line even he couldn't overlook. Jake's parents are mortified. They love him, but they're done protecting him from himself. They said he needs to face the consequences like any other adult. The rest of us? We're still trying to wrap our heads around it. It's one thing to throw a tantrum at a family gathering, it's another to try to rob your own grandfather. Jake's always chased validation, and now he's getting attention, just not the kind he wanted. Edit. Just to clarify, since a lot of people asked, Grandpa had already discussed all of this with his kids, my dad, my aunts, my uncles, before the reunion. Everyone was on board with his plan. They're all well established in life, and agreed the grandkids should inherit equally. Grandpa also made sure that everyone will still get sentimental items, keepsakes, and photos, maybe one small item from the house that means something personal. The house and cars, though, they will be sold and divided fairly among the 9 of us. Edit 2. A few folks have been wondering where Jake's ego came from. Honestly, none of us know. His parents are kind and humble people. They raised him well, gave him everything he needed, and never really spoiled him. He's a college graduate, doesn't use anything, and barely drinks, the kind of guy who nurses a single beer all night. He's had every opportunity to live a good life, but for some reason, he's always believed he deserves more than the rest of us. We used to laugh it off. Now, after everything that's happened, it's just sad. He didn't lose his inheritance. He threw it away himself. Grandpa had already given him the things that actually mattered: time, trust, and years of being included. Jake traded all of that for a busted car that doesn't even run. Some people can't stand being treated equally once they've built their whole identity around feeling special. Grandpa didn't punish him. He just told the truth. and Jake couldn't handle a truth that didn't put him in the center of it. Every family has a Jake. The moment there's an estate, someone suddenly remembers all the help they supposedly gave, all the sacrifices only they made, and starts rewriting history in their favor. It's like grief flips a switch and turns memories into invoices. My favorite part of this story is that Grandpa didn't budge. He didn't let guilt or noise sway him. He stood by fairness, even when it meant disappointing someone who had been orbiting his attention for years. You can tell the man's peace came from knowing love is supposed to outlive possessions, not compete with them. Nothing exposes a person's true colors faster than a will. Someone dies, and suddenly the family part of family inheritance goes right out the window. There's always one person who acts like they're being robbed of something that was never theirs to begin with. Jake's story is just the loud version of what plays out quietly in a lot of families. People fighting over rings, photo albums, even furniture. Greed doesn't scale with the value of the item. It scales with entitlement. At least he learned the hard way. You can inherit things, but you can't inherit decency. Jake really said, "If Grandpa won't give me the car, I'll just take it." Bold move, stealing something that doesn't even have an engine. Guess he finally found out the difference between heir and error. His inheritance now comes with 3 meals a day and a metal bed frame. Grandpa didn't cut him out of the will. Jake drove himself out of it, in a car that didn't even start. I was told to stop helping my old team, so I did, and everything fell apart. Before I retired, I worked for a medium-sized tech company with offices in both the US and the UK. I had been there for decades, long enough to watch entire systems get built, scrapped, and rebuilt again. My official title was manager and senior programmer, which basically meant I handled both the technical work and the people side of things. I loved my job. My team was good. We knew each other's quirks, strengths, and limits. I'd been the one assigning projects, making timelines, troubleshooting bugs, mentoring new hires, pretty much the go-to person for anything that needed to get done fast and right. Then, one day, corporate decided to streamline operations. That's the word they always use right before something chaotic happens. The higher-ups announced they were consolidating the US and UK departments into one unified programming team, managed entirely out of the UK. The logic, apparently, was that management could be centralized for efficiency. What it really meant was that all managerial authority shifted overseas, and I was told to drop the management part of my role. They said they still valued my technical expertise, so I would remain a programmer, but no more supervising, scheduling, or mentoring, just code. On paper, my pay stayed the same. My workload even looked lighter. But in practice, that change made 0 sense. The time difference between our US office and UK was 6 hours. That meant there were only 2 to 3 hours a day when both teams were online at the same time. After that, the UK team would sign off, leaving the US team with questions, issues, and roadblocks they couldn't solve until the next morning. You can probably guess what happened next. Even after I lost the manager title, my old team still came to me when they hit a snag. They had stopped by my desk in the afternoons asking how to handle a code merge or what priority to give a new request. They weren't trying to break the new system. They just wanted to keep working instead of sitting around waiting half a day for a UK manager to wake up. And honestly, it made sense. I was right there. I had been their boss for years. They trusted me. If answering a few questions helped keep productivity up, I didn't see the harm. Apparently, the UK managers did. They started complaining to upper management that their American staff were ignoring them. They said it was disrespectful and unprofessional that the team kept turning to me instead of following protocol. They wanted total control, even though they were asleep for most of our workday. One morning, I got an email from my boss, the new US and UK joint director, telling me to stop answering questions from the team. He said all communication should go through their assigned UK managers from now on. That was the moment I decided to let things play out exactly as they wanted. I called my team together and told them the news. I explained that I had been told, very clearly, not to help them anymore. No advice, no clarifications, no quick fixes. If they had questions, they'd have to send them across the ocean and wait for a reply the next day. They all looked at me like I just pulled the plug on a life support machine, but I told them we were going to follow the rules to the letter. And so we did. That afternoon, one of my old staff messaged me asking how to update a section of shared code. Normally, I would have walked over and fixed it in 5 minutes. Instead, I said, "Sorry, I was told not to help. You'll have to email the UK manager." She sighed and said she'd do it. By the time she got an answer, it was the next morning. And even then, the response wasn't helpful. It was just, "Please check the documentation." That kind of thing kept happening every single day. By the end of the first week, small delays had turned into major slowdowns. The US team couldn't move forward on half their projects without feedback from people who were asleep on the other side of the planet. Within 2 weeks, deadlines were slipping. Clients were asking questions. The UK managers were flooded with messages they couldn't even get through in a single morning. It was chaos, predictable and avoidable chaos to me, but chaos nonetheless. Eventually, my boss called me into a meeting. He looked tired and said, "We're getting a lot of complaints about delays. What's going on with the US team?" I told him, very calmly, that I had been doing exactly what I was told. No more helping, no more guidance, just programming. He didn't like that answer. He muttered something about communication breakdowns and told me they were reassessing the management structure. Another week passed, the situation got worse. The UK managers started panicking because the US backlogs kept growing and their own performance metrics were taking a hit. They tried scheduling more overlap meetings, but the time zone gap made it miserable for everyone. Someone was always getting stuck working late or waking up at dawn. After about a month, my boss called me in again. This time, the tone had changed. He asked how I had managed to keep things running smoothly before the merger. I said it was simple. I was there. I knew the people. I knew the projects. And I could make decisions instantly instead of waiting 6 hours for approval. He sat there for a moment, then finally asked, "Would you be willing to step back into a management role?" I told him I'd have to think about it. Truth was, I was enjoying the peace. My workload was steady, my stress was lower, and I didn't have to play referee anymore. So I told him, as politely as I could, that I was fine just programming. If they really needed a manager in the US, they should hire one. A few days later, HR reached out and said they were prepared to offer me a raise if I had agreed to take my old role back. That made the decision easier. I accepted, but with one condition, that they stop trying to centralize management where it doesn't make sense. It's been years since then, but I still laugh when I think about that period. Management thought they could run everything from across the ocean without listening to the people actually doing the work. They found out the hard way that time zones and egos don't mix. All it took was a few weeks of following the rules exactly as written to prove the point. Sometimes, the best way to show leadership what's broken is to let it break. Holding out and getting the raise is the real win here. Management loves learning the hard way that efficiency isn't free when you strip out the people who actually keep things running. Chef's kiss ending. Managers never seem to grasp what happens when people have to wait half a day for an answer from someone across the world. I've been on global teams before, Europe, the Philippines, even Australia, and it's always the same story. Someone's always asleep when you need them, projects stall, and everyone acts shocked like time zones are a new invention. So management told him to stop helping, everything crashed, and then they paid him more to do the same job again? That's not a promotion, that's poetic justice with benefits. Corporate logic just never fails to amaze me. They basically paid extra to prove he was right all along. Am I the jerk for refusing to let my stepdaughter live with us? I, 28 female, have been married to my husband who's 42 for 2 years, together for 4. He has 3 kids from a previous marriage, Lucas who's 18, Lily who's 16, and Kayla who's 13. While I don't dislike his kids, I don't want kids of my own, and I made this very clear to him when we dated. This wasn't an issue because he only gets his kids for 1 weekend a month, because they live far away from us. I made it very clear that I didn't want to take care of his kids apart from the occasional weekend. For the past 4 years, I've tried my best to be a good stepmother, and I've built a good relationship with my stepson Lucas and stepdaughter Kayla, but I'm unable to build a relationship with Lily. I've tried to take her out for girls' days, shopping sprees, and fun outings. She either refuses to go or complains the whole time. The last straw was when I got her something from her wish list last Christmas, a bracelet that she wanted, and she threw it away, saying that I got her the wrong one and I was too poor to understand the difference. She then accused me of only marrying her dad for his money. I usually don't let her comments get to me, but this was the last straw. After this, I stopped trying to interact with her and maintained my distance. The truth is, I didn't marry my husband for his money. We both work in high-paying tech jobs, but I inherited a lot from my parents. I even agreed to pay for part of Luca's tuition. Anyways, Lily and Kayla want to move to a better school next year. The school is closer to our home than their mother's, so my husband said that they should live with us. I don't mind living with Kayla, but I don't want to be around Lily. My husband goes to work 4 days a week while I work from home, so I'll constantly have to be around Lily, and I refuse to do that. I don't mind being around Kayla, but not Lily. I told my husband all of this, and he called me a jerk, and we've been fighting ever since. He says I need to step up as a stepmother, and I can't let a teenager get to me. Lily has been in tears, saying it's not fair that I want Kayla but not her, and her mother is on her side. So, am I the jerk? Edit. To all the people saying I signed up for this when I married a man with kids, my husband led me to believe that he never wanted full custody of them, and if anything were to happen to their mother, their aunt would get custody. He has never been close to his kids and has said that he regrets having them. Ouch. On the weekends they were with us, I spent more time with them than he did. His reaction has me blindsided. I have suggested therapy and family therapy, but my husband is very against it, so that's not an option. I've asked my husband to talk to Lily, but he doesn't want to get involved. If her behavior changes, even a little, I have no problem letting her live with us. But the fact that my husband and his ex refuse to talk to her about her behavior and the fact that I need to be around her all day is terrifying to me. Both of us come from a culture where it's normal to marry a man older and better settled, so our age gap didn't come as a shock to anyone. At the time of his first marriage, he was 23 while his ex was 18. Edit 2. My husband leaves for work at 8 a.m. and comes home at 8 p.m. The kids are in school from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m., so I have to parent them alone from 3-ish to 8, and that's not something I want to do. When we got married, I said I wouldn't take on any parenting responsibilities, and I stand by it. He refuses to work from home like me or get home sooner. Edit 3. I didn't tell Lily or Kayla any of this. I told my husband, who told his ex, who told the kids. This was meant to be an adult conversation. I know how this information could hurt Lily. And for people saying I shouldn't have married a man with kids, I was led to believe by my family that he was the best I would get due to my age. Most women in my community are married by 21. We got to know each other and I fell in love with him, and he assured me he would support my career and I wouldn't have to take the typical role of a mother. I knew that if I didn't get married soon, my family would isolate me. I was coerced by my family and lied to by my husband. Some people are saying I'm not the jerk, others are saying I am. It's quite obvious that those saying I'm the jerk don't know much about other cultures. In my culture, and actually most cultures outside of the US and some European countries, kids or teenagers don't get to say whatever they want because they're hormonal or whatever. Not the jerk. You made your position known and your husband is attempting to strong-arm you and override it in your shared home. You might consider taking some of your hard-earned money and renting an apartment to work from and live in, not out of anger or revenge, but out of practicality. Yup, pack your bags, find alternative accommodation for yourself, leave, and start the divorce process. You will never be comfortable in this marriage. You're the jerk. Things change. The kids aren't going to magically disappear just because you or your husband decide you don't want them around. My wish for 2024 is for people to stop marrying parents if they don't want to deal with the kids. You were a fool to think that this was never a possibility. You married a man who has kids, so living with them was always a possibility. Yes, Lily needs to learn respect, but you need to accept that his kids will always be a part of your life. Your edits make me lean towards everyone sucks here because of your husband's attitude towards the issue. You're still not innocent though. You married a man knowing that he had 3 kids. Regardless of how often or not he had them, things can change at the drop of a hat. If their mom got sick, if there were issues at home, etc., you'd have to take them in. You can't pick and choose which kids you want there just because a teenager doesn't like you. They are hormonal at that age, going through so many changes, not to mention she'll probably be confused at the big age gap between you and her dad. The kid has every right to be upset that you're picking one over the other. I understand your reasons, but these are kids. He has every right to want his kids to live with him. In this scenario, you're the jerk. I do understand where you're coming from, but as a parent, I would put my kids before anyone, even my partner. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk or not? Please let us know. I don't think people will ever learn to stop marrying parents if you don't want their kids to live with you. Am I the jerk for telling my daughter, who's facing homelessness, That only her and the baby can move in with me, but not her husband? The husband has lived in their apartment for a number of years. The owners recently sold it and the new ones are moving in, so my daughter and her husband have to move. The problem is, rent has gone up dramatically. The rent they're paying is $1,100 for a one-bedroom, which I thought was a lot. But now that I'm trying to help them find a place, most are now going for around $2,000 a month or more. They can't afford that. My daughter knows that she is always welcome at my house. Granted, a baby complicates things. I wasn't happy about her having a baby. She's young, she just turned 22, but I would never deny her housing. However, I can't stand her husband. Let's just call him Aaron. I wouldn't invite Aaron over for dinner, let alone let him live with me. Aaron's in his mid-30s, criminal history, hair-trigger temper, chronically immature, and has one heck of a jealousy and possessive streak that has caused strain in their relationship, which I obviously do not approve of. Honestly, when she told me that she was pregnant, I finally thought we'd get rid of Aaron. I genuinely thought he's exactly the kind of man to ditch. They'd been on and off over and over since she was about 18 or 19. Alas, if anything, it made him cling to her tighter. They had a very rushed wedding, and this is their longest stint together without any breakups. Just over a year. There's still been the fair share of dramatics, of course, but I'm surprised they made it this far. Even so, I simply don't want to live with Aaron. I don't like him. I don't want him around me. I'd go above and beyond for my daughter and the baby. They can stay as long as they need, but not him. Obviously, this has created a rift between my daughter and I. She doesn't want to live separately from Aaron. I told her that she needs to figure out alternative arrangements. Well, their move-out date is rapidly approaching, the 15th of December, and they've still not been able to find a place, and she's panicking. She's been begging me to let them stay with me. I reiterated my terms. Aaron simply cannot stay here. This led to a lot of tears and some angry words, namely me being a jerk. I can genuinely see why she might think that, but I also have to think about myself and my own sanity. Update. I do believe because of my anger and frustration, I exaggerated Aaron's flaws in my post. Has he struggled with his temper? Yes, but I should not have described it as hair trigger. I've never thought of him as dangerous. I've never feared for my daughter's safety nor my own. I also described him as jealous and possessive, and while I do see some of those tendencies, he's never tried to restrict her movements or isolate her. She's always dealt with a tremendous amount of anxiety, especially when it comes to social situations. As much as I loathe to admit it, in this regard, he's been a wonderful cheerleader. He could keep her at home where she feels most secure, but he truly does encourage her to get out and be adventurous. As for his criminal history, it's all below the age of 24. He hasn't been in trouble with the law since. It still makes me uncomfortable, but I can admit that he's been stable. In all the time I've known him, he's had no issues holding down a job, paying his rent, etc. What bothers me the most is the age gap. I can't explain that away or change it. It is what it is. It makes me uncomfortable. Anyways, if posting here has shown me anything, it's that Aaron's not nearly as bad as I had built him up in my mind. So many people here are imagining he's a monster. He's just a guy. He means well and he's trying. He's still irritating, opinionated, immature, and talks too much. But he does try his best to take care of my daughter. He is a capable present father and loves being one. They are married and he has family. Lots of people have stated they are a unit. They come together or not at all. I've started to agree. It's for that reason I've decided to allow them all to stay with me while they figure things out. If she's adult enough to get pregnant and get married, she's also adult enough to figure things out. Either she accepts your terms, it's your house, or they can stay with friends or his family. Can't have it both ways. Not the jerk. OP. Unfortunately, that's not really how things work. I realize that even adults need help from time to time. Sometimes a lot of help, and that's okay. Heck, I need help occasionally too. For my own sanity, my helpfulness has its own limits, and I hope my daughter will eventually understand this. I realize they're in a tough spot. The vast majority of her friends live at home still, and the ones that don't live with multiple roommates and aren't in a position to help. Aaron, from what I've gathered, doesn't really have family beyond a brother in another province. I know he's done a lot of work on himself, so says my daughter, and has distanced himself a great deal from his former friends. I realize their options are extremely limited, but like I said, my ability to help has its limits. Not the jerk. It's your house and your life. You're being very generous in your offer. I get that she doesn't want to be separated from her husband, but just because he's working on himself doesn't wash away all of the hurt that he's caused. Stand strong and do not be guilted into this. Am I the jerk for going on a pre-planned and paid-for vacation after my boyfriend's father passed? My boyfriend, who's 30, and I, 28 female, have been dating for 4 years and have been living together for the past 18 months. Our lease is up at the end of this month, and we were hoping to have purchased a house by now, but that didn't happen. So we decided to just renew our lease and keep the house hunt going. I've also had a very stressful year career-wise, so this fall a few friends and I booked a girls' trip to Mexico for a yoga and wellness retreat. We're leaving next Thursday, and we're all really looking forward to it. This week, before Thanksgiving, my boyfriend's dad unexpectedly passed away. My boyfriend immediately flew out to be with his mom and siblings. He ended up staying there for Thanksgiving instead of coming home, which I completely understood. Due to the holiday and scheduling conflicts with other relatives, the funeral wasn't scheduled until the Friday after I leave for my trip. When he told me the date of the funeral, I reminded him that I would be gone. He asked me if there was any way I could reschedule the trip or get a refund, and I told him I would look into it. But the trip was booked through a group rate and was 100% non-refundable, and none of my friends wanted to go through the hassle of rescheduling, which sucks, but I get it. I saved a lot of money to take this trip and really needed the escape, and if I cancel, I don't get the money back at all. I explained all of this to my boyfriend, and he asked me what I was going to do. I apologized and told him that I think I'm going to go on the trip because I don't want that money to go away for nothing. All of this over the phone because he was still with his family and told me we would talk more when he got back. When he came home, we talked more about it, and I apologized so many times when I was explaining why I still was going on the trip. He seemed to understand and told me it was fine, but when I asked him when we were going to sign the papers to renew our lease because I want that done before I leave, he said he's not doing that anymore. He said that he came back to figure some things out at work, and then he's flying back for the funeral and will be staying with his mom while they figure some things out. I asked him why he didn't talk to me about this first, and he said that he's talking to me about it right now. He said his mom needs help, so he's going to stay with her. I asked him what am I supposed to do about a place to live, and he told me to figure it out with my friends on our vacation. I told him that he's putting me in a bad situation and that he seemed fine with me going on the trip and missing the funeral. He said he wasn't going to beg me to cancel my trip and that I made that decision on my own, so he's making this decision on his own. I told him he's being a jerk and he should have talked to me about this first. He said I'm the one who prioritized drinking on a beach over being at his dad's funeral, so if anyone is a jerk here, it's me. You're the jerk. Your partner of 4 years lost their parent and you think it's more important to go on a vacation? You showed your priorities. They aren't your relationship. I, 28 male, told my parents and siblings the truth, and I think it broke them. I, 28 male, had dinner over at my parents' house a week ago. At some point during the night, my mother started questioning me as to why I kicked my sister, who's 21, out of my house. She already knows the reasons to why, but she kept asking me to give her another chance. My father asked me to take on my sister. Originally, this was great, as I travel a lot for work, so I had someone to take care of the house in my absence. She would effectively have lived alone, as I am sometimes away 2 to 3 weeks out of a month. The only condition I put on her living with me was that she takes care of the house in my absence and cleans up after herself. A week after she moved in, I left for 3 weeks, and when I came back, the house was a mess. No clean cutlery, dishes, nothing. The pizza box and plates were still in the same position as when I left the house 3 weeks ago, and she was sitting on the couch with 6 plates of uneaten food stacked on each other. Some had started to grow mold. I asked her what's going on with the house, and she told me it's my house, my job to clean up. Why should she clean up? I told her, you're a grown woman. I never expected the house to be sparkling when I returned, but at least in the same condition as it was when I left. It wouldn't have hurt her to just clean up after herself. And again, she said, my house, my responsibilities. I just saw red. I snapped and told her to get her crap and get out of my house, and she laughed at me and said, this is your home, now get to cleaning. Everything was funny to her until I started to throw her crap outside. She started with the waterworks, and when that didn't work, she called my parents. I got a call from my father, and he asked what's going on, so I told him. I hung up the phone and sent him pictures of my house. He didn't even respond, only arrived 25 minutes later to pick up my sister, and he apologized to me. The story above was just my breaking point, but a lot of crap other than this has happened over the years. I'm always the last resort. Any issues someone has, they come to me. If someone needs money, I'm the one they can call. If they need a place to stay, they show up at my house. They need help with something, I'm the one. I've always had to sit on the back burner and just be the support for everyone in their time of need. and when I needed them, they weren't there, and I was told to be a man and sort it out. My parents have been great to my younger siblings, 4 kids in total. They have all stayed with me in the past, as well as rent-free with no contributions at all. I didn't have a childhood. I became the 3rd parent in the household. Everything regarding my siblings fell on me. If I had to write down everything I have done or been through for my siblings and parents, I'd be writing this post for days. I don't really blame my parents, as circumstances were a lot different from when I was a kid to my siblings. But the difference in the way we were all raised is evident. My siblings are entitled jerks, and it's my parents' fault for how they raised them. After my mom's constant questions, I snapped when she said I'm being heartless. I just unleashed everything onto them. I was ranting for about 30 minutes while they sat there in silence with their eyes getting bigger as the minutes passed. I finished with them, I'm just tired of all this crap. I'm the backup for everyone in this family. I can see the pain on my parents' faces as they can't even look me in the eyes anymore. Every time I miss a phone call from one of them, my phone blows up as they think that I did something. I fell asleep on the couch yesterday as I worked 36 hours straight and I was tired. During my sleep, my father tried to call me, and as I was asleep, I didn't answer his calls. I got woken up as the police kicked down my door when my parents showed up at my house after I didn't answer them, and they saw me laying on the couch. The knocking and banging didn't wake me up. That was the first time I saw my father cry, as they thought that I had done something I shouldn't have. I think I broke my parents, as my youngest sister told me that they just exist in their house and don't even talk to each other anymore. The house is cold, and she can hear both my parents just burst out crying sometimes, especially during the night. I just want to know if there's some way that I can move on with this. You don't want to lose access to your younger siblings, understandable, but you can still say no. No, I will not loan you money. No, I will not give you money. I will not do that for you. You cannot live with me. People can have relationships with each other that are not conditional or transactional. Tell them what behaviors from them you will and will not accept in the relationship and stick to it. Ex-fiance of 8 years broke up with me via text 3 years ago. Now she's trying to rejoin our circle of mutual friends. Me and a girl who I'll just call Jessica were a couple for 8 years and were engaged for 3 years. I met her through a mutual friend in my group of friends. We ended up hitting it off pretty quickly as our dorky and nerdy hobbies aligned really well. I personally fully expected to marry her and spend the rest of my life with her. In early 2016, her job offered her an amazing opportunity to temporarily work 4 months in the company's satellite office in New Zealand. She was an environmental engineer, to temporarily manage and lead a new team. It was very sudden, and I was not really happy with the idea, but she really wanted this chance and opportunity, so off she went. I flew out to visit her about 2 months after. Only when I arrived at the airport, I got a text message from her. The message was short and more or less consisted of, she was sorry, but after thinking it through, she thinks it would be best if we went our separate ways from now on. She then completely blocked me on almost every single form of social media, cell phone, etc. I was confused, devastated, and became an absolute wreck. I remember completely breaking down at the airport. I spent the next 4 days living at a motel, basically trying to get into contact with her in any shape or form. She had apparently blocked every one of our circle of friends. Even her close friends from our circle of friends were shocked, confused, and basically lost. Even her parents were extremely confused when I called them. Her dad, who I was extremely close with, we coached Pee-wee hockey together and played a lot of beer league for hockey together, refused to believe it at first. I was a mess for a solid year, but my close circle of friends managed to drag me out of my hole along with some therapy. Her best friends became close friends to me. About a year ago, she invited some of her old close friends to her wedding among a bunch of other people from our group. No one went, and I quickly found out, which hurt me even more. Over a year ago, I started dating one of her old friends, as me and her had gotten close over the last 2 years or so. She felt quite hurt when Jessica basically ghosted her. Unfortunately, there was some awkwardness because she fully knew I was not fully over my ex, but she has been a supportive and amazing person, and I'm extremely happy with her. Life was going great for me. Then in December, Jessica apparently moved back home after divorcing a few months after getting married. I don't know much, and I don't want to know. However, she's making this hugely concentrated effort to reconnect with people in our old friend group, which is resulting in some very conflicted feelings for people. Last week, I found out that Jessica and some of my friends have started playing Dungeons & Dragons, which frankly made me feel horrible. Part of me just wants to move on from this, but I'm struggling hard. While my significant other has been extremely supportive, I just feel numb and don't really know what to do. Today, Jessica sent me a long Facebook message basically apologizing for what she did and asking to be friends. I didn't respond and I blocked her. I told my significant other and I just felt like I was going to break down. Right now, my significant other is saying that she's worried about me and keeps asking me what I want to do. My significant other confessed that Jessica had sent her a similar message a few weeks ago and she told her off. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I can't order my friends to not be friends with her. I just feel like a mess and I'm struggling with this as I feel like I'm a teenager dealing with stupid drama again. Update. I sat down with my significant other and I explained to her how awesome she is, and I explained how I don't have any romantic feelings for my ex at all. All I really have is a lot of painful and hurtful memories. I also asked her what should I do, and she suggested that I respond and tell her off to get closure to some degree. So I did that. I told her I don't want to be friends anymore. I want nothing to do with her. I explained how badly she hurt me. I'm happy right now, and I just want her to leave me and my friends alone. She took it well, apologized one more time, and then basically said goodbye forever. That was honestly a huge load off my shoulders. I then went and told our group of friends and explained how much she hurt me and how I'd rather we not start adding her to our gaming sessions. Unfortunately, I ended up losing a bunch of friends and have irreparably caused a lot of damage to our friend group. Many of them sided with me, but a bunch of them took the stance of, "You have no right to tell me who I can be friends with," among other complaints. A few people were very angry and told me I'm being a terrible person as my ex is trying to repent and deal with pain of her divorce. It was confusing and frankly just made everything more of a mess. In the end, a bunch of us ended up getting booted out of our friend group. I don't really know what's going to happen, but it really hurt me to see some people that I've known for years and even helped me get through it the first time suddenly take her side. Am I the jerk for refusing to be my friend's alibi so he can cheat on his girlfriend? I, 21 male, have known my friend Matt, who's 21, since we started college. We're in the same program and have been roommates since day one. Overall, I'd say Matt is a great guy. However, he has a terrible tendency to cheat. Throughout college, I think Matt had 5 to 7 different girlfriends, and each of those relationships ended because he would cheat. Back in January, he started dating his current girlfriend, Jen, who's 21, and has been with her far longer than any of the previous relationships. From my interactions with Jen, I know she's a wonderful person. She's very polite, beautiful, and clearly devoted to Matt. For the past few weeks, Matt has also developed a close relationship with his anatomy lab partner, Cindy, who's 21. It's become pretty clear to me and my other housemates, Kyle, Robert, and Omar, that there is some romantic relationship between them. We've even met Cindy as she came by our house a few times. Long story short, Matt told me and the other guys that things between him and Cindy are moving fairly quickly and that Jen is completely in the dark about this. He told us that, for the foreseeable future, he'll be spending a few nights hanging out at Cindy's place. Here's the issue. Jen and her roommates don't live that far from us, about a 7-minute walk, so there's a good chance she'll come by looking for him, according to Matt. Therefore, he wants us all to make excuses for his absence and potentially reassure Jen that he isn't up to anything bad. Kyle and Robert are fully on board with this as they consider it the bro code. Omar is fully against this, and while he has not said he'd tell Jen, he has refused to lie for Matt and has been urging him to end things with Cindy. I would say I'm more neutral. I don't think what Matt's doing is appropriate, but I don't think it's my place to tell Matt how to manage his relationships. I tell him that while I wouldn't seek Jen out and tell her what's going on, I wouldn't lie to her either about where he is, and instead just say that I don't know. We all argued about this for a while, and the general gist of things is that Kyle, Robert, and Matt all think I'm being a bit of a jerk for not being more cooperative. Aside from this, I don't think there's really much I can do. Moving somewhere else is both economically and logistically unfeasible, so I think trying to avoid stirring the pot is my best bet. Am I the jerk? Update. I'll start by saying that Jen found out last night. Like Matt predicted, she came over to our house Tuesday evening. I saw her pretty quickly since I was also coming back from buying some food. She asked me if I knew where Matt was, and I said I didn't know, because I genuinely didn't at that time. She mentioned how he wasn't responding to her texts and that she was worried about him, and I felt pretty bad hearing that. Kyle, who was inside, came out at this point and said that Matt was in his anatomy lab and then reassured her that he'd contact her once he was finished. She didn't seem entirely satisfied with that answer, but thanked us anyway and left. Once she was gone, Kyle told me that Matt was actually on a date with Cindy. Since Matt sometimes brings Cindy over, he'll text the house group chat before they come over to ensure that Jen isn't around. He did this on Tuesday night, and Kyle did alert him that Jen had stopped by looking for him, so he stayed over with Cindy on Tuesday night. Wednesday evening, only Omar and I are home. Kyle was with his own girlfriend, and Robert had an exam. Around 7 p.m., we got a text on the group chat from Matt saying he plans on bringing Cindy over around 8:30, and he asked if Jen came by. I told him that I hadn't seen her, and things went on as usual. I'll add that Omar has refused to respond to these specific text messages from Matt, so there was an expectation on me to clarify if Jen was here or not. A little after 8 p.m., Jen comes by with one of her friends, Carly, who's 21. They asked us where Matt was, since Jen hadn't been seeing him a lot lately. Before I could even say anything, Omar told them to come back after 8:30 and Matt should be home. They left, and I did argue with Omar about his decision to tell them to come back, since it was inevitably going to cause drama, but he didn't care. I did text Matt and told him about Jen potentially returning, but since he was driving, he didn't read the message. At this stage, I gave up trying to contact Matt and went up to my room. A little after 8:30, Matt walked in with Cindy, and not long afterward, Jen and Carly returned. Omar let them in. Long story short, there was a lot of Jen yelling and Matt lying and apologizing. I didn't bother coming down since I could hear it all from my room. After about 10 minutes of this, Jen and Carly left. Matt sent Cindy home after this and was pretty upset at what happened. I reminded him that I sent him text messages, which he now saw, and Omar played dumb, acting like he didn't see Matt's message about him asking if Jen was home, but confirmed to him that he had told Jen to come back after the first time she came because he didn't think Matt was dumb enough to go out with Cindy 2 nights back to back. Robert and Kyle came home after this point, and I filled them in on what happened. There was definitely some tension in the house this morning, as Matt thinks this all could have been avoided had Omar been more helpful. He also partially blames Cindy for wanting to come over more often. Overall, Matt doesn't really seem to care that Jen found out and broke things off with him. He said that he'll try apologizing one more time, as he does prefer Jen to Cindy, and if she doesn't accept, he'll leave things as they are. As for Cindy, Matt has already told Kyle, Robert, and me this morning that he plans on ending things with her after the December exam season. He says that he wants to be single again by New Year's so he can have a fresh start. Kyle and Robert think this is pretty hilarious, considering how much trouble he got into to be with her. Things have ended more smoothly than I thought, and I've made it abundantly clear to Matt to keep me out of his relationships from now on. I have also asked Carly how Jen was holding up this morning as we share class together. As expected, Jen was very upset about the entire ordeal, and she and her friends consider everyone at our house, aside from Omar, to be complicit and awful. Kyle texted the group chat. His girlfriend knows, and she isn't happy. My Karen daughter told me to not expect her to take care of me in my old age, so now I'm cutting her off financially. I'm 44, male. My daughter, who's 23, doesn't get along with my wife. We've been married for 2 years now. My wife and I got together when she was at college. My ex-wife doesn't like her, and I have a feeling that's the biggest part of it. My daughter can't really seem to point to what she doesn't like, just general, "She's stuck up," or "She always has an attitude." My daughter recently graduated, and we've been helping her pay bills here and there as she looked for a job in her field. We usually give her around $1,000 a month. Recently, she was at our house, and her and my wife got into an argument over my daughter leaving a mess in the kitchen. As I tried to defuse things, my daughter started screaming that I was a jerk for siding with my wife and that she was going to remember this when I'm older and I need her. This floored me. At this point, I just walked away. After giving it some thought, I realized that I don't want my future to be in the hands of someone else, especially someone who intends to lord that over me. I would never place the expectation on her to take care of me, but I do feel like since she has made it clear that any support from her in my old age would come with strings, it makes more sense to invest that money so that my later years will be paid for. So, would I be the jerk if I redirect that $1,000 a month into my retirement account versus helping my daughter? Not the jerk. Tell her you need to divert the funds you are giving her to ensure you're cared for as you age. So your daughter made a mess. Your wife told her to clean it up and she refused, and then she got upset about it? You raised a winner there, OP. Not the jerk. Not the jerk, but $1,000 a month would buy you a pretty nice long-term care insurance policy. I'm just saying. Not the jerk. I don't want or expect anybody to take care of me in my old age, but her general attitude would be the end of any financial support. You simply do not bite the hand that feeds you. First time I dressed up for a double date and my friend didn't like it. My friend Joel, who's 20, asked me, 21 male, to join him for a double date with Jean, who's 20, and her friend Sam, who's 19. Joel got a date with Jean, but she wanted to make it a double date as she wanted to introduce Sam to the dating scene in a more friendly kind of way. I agreed to it, but Sam wasn't amused by the idea of me being her date, but agreed because she was happy with just the experience. Why? Well, me and Joel are two totally different types of guys. He's the charming and athletic guy, while I'm the chubby and more reserved one. Doesn't help that I'm balding this early in life. The times I have met her at university has been while I'm wearing the same clothes. I have a set of clothes only for university, sort of like a self-imposed uniform. Every day is different, but I repeat weekly. So yesterday I got my hair cut as low as possible without going into shaving, fixed my beard, and I have to say I was looking mighty fine. Got out my brand new clothes. Now today we had our double date after 2 p.m. I arrived late, but only by 5 minutes. Joel was texting me like crazy until I arrived holding a rose for Sam. I'm a bit corny, but I thought it would be a nice gesture. Joel wasn't happy for some reason. Jean looked surprised, but Sam, she smiled widely and her eyes sparkled a bit. We start our date and Sam and I are having a bit of a blast. We decided to go out bowling before we go for ice cream in recommendation from Sam. We got along, but not really enough to say that I like her more than a friend. Maybe a second date, solo this time, would be nice. As we're hanging out, I could feel glances from Joel and small smiles from Jean. I know Jean is smiling because Sam is having fun, but I didn't know why Joel was so angry with me. After the date, Joel unloaded on me, how I was cringe for bringing Sam a rose, that I was there to entertain Sam, not distract Jean from him, that I dressed too formal and too fancy. I was only wearing a white shirt, flannel overshirt, and jeans with my Converse. He also said I should have stayed at home if I was going to act like I did at the date. I just talked with Sam, shared a meal with her, and went to get her favorite ice cream from her favorite store. He was there, and Jean was 100% on board with the ideas. I barely talked with Jean. He had all the playing field for himself. Not my fault Jean was more interested in seeing her friend happy. Sounds like he was annoyed that you showed him up on the date. He's probably used to attention and thought being next to you would make him look better. Sorry, just going based off your description. Girls care way more about thoughts and effort than just attractive. That's why you are getting the attention of both of them. OP. I knew from the start he was planning to use me to look better, but I wasn't expecting him to be rude about his date with Jane and blaming it on me. Maybe the only reason Jean agreed to date your friend was so she'd have an excuse to get Sam out on a date with somebody, and Joel is salty about it. Don't worry about it. It sounds like you and Sam had a nice time, and Jean is happy that Sam enjoyed herself. Joel is being insecure. You absolutely should ask Sam to go out solo, even if you decide she's not for you romantically. It sounds like you guys get along well and could be great friends. OP. I think I will ask her out. She mentioned she was more into retro gaming, and we have an old school arcade close to campus. Update. Let's start with my friend Joel. I explained to him what had happened and how it made me feel, and he apologized. A bit of a forced apology, but it's been 2 weeks, and he's actually changed a bit. I explained that he should be more attentive with his dates and took it to heart. He is still the same guy, but now he at least tries to actually connect with his date. Jean, well, not much. We started hanging out, but I don't know how much happened with her and Joel. Just that it didn't work out. I will take that. Now Sam, well, I asked her out for another date, this time a solo date, and she said yes with a big grin on her face. We went to the arcade and we had a blast, maybe too much. That night I returned to my apartment at 3 a.m. and exhausted. That was a night filled with firsts. With that said, we hit it off. I thought we wouldn't click, but after a few drinks and karaoke, we really made her loosen up a bit, and we talked for another 3 hours on our second date, had 2 more dates, and now we are officially dating. I showed her my last post, and she was amused by all of your replies. I threw a low blow at my wife, and now she's barely talking to me. Please help. Me, 29 male, and my wife, Ali, who's 27, we've been together for 6 years and married for 3. We met in college, and at first, my mom, who was always a stay-at-home mom, was worried that my wife wouldn't make a good housewife. However, as the years went on, she saw how my Ali and I made such a beautiful partnership. She saw how we supported each other through college and grad school, job hunting, financial issues, health problems, and more. She saw how I would pick up the slack when Ali was busy and how Ali did the same for me. We also split our chores at home. My mom now absolutely adores her. Since I only have brothers, and I'm the only married one, she thinks of her as the daughter she never had. Now on to the issue. This past Monday, I was just having a terrible day. The kind of day where everything goes wrong. I got a flat tire on my way to work. I was late to work. My boss yelled at me. I dropped my lunch. I left my wallet at home. It was just an awful day. I got home and I was starving. Ali was cooking dinner. She seemed to have been anxious because when she is, she starts talking a lot and really fast, which I normally find sweet and endearing, but not that day. So she starts going on and on about her day. I just wanted her to get done with dinner. So out of nowhere, I just yelled, "Do you ever stop talking? Boy, was Mom ever right?" She asks, right about what? Instead of keeping my mouth shut, I tell her about my mom's concerns about her not making a good housewife. Her eyes rolled up with tears, and she stopped talking, finished cooking dinner, and went straight to the shower and then to bed. Now she wakes up before me and leaves breakfast and lunch ready, comes home and leaves dinner ready, and goes straight to shower and bed. She doesn't want to talk to me or watch TV or anything. If I ask or say anything, she gives me 1 or 2 word responses. She doesn't even look angry at me, just defeated. I don't know how to fix this. I feel like flowers and chocolates won't cut it here. Plus, I don't even know why I said that, because my mom doesn't even have those concerns anymore. Please help. Update. I want to clarify and answer some questions. Pregnancy. Ali is not pregnant. Before getting married, we decided to wait until our careers were established for 2 years before we started trying for a baby. That would be next year. We're both very careful. Plus, I asked and she said she wasn't. Her doing all of the chores. She does not do all of the chores. Before we moved in together, we made a list of all the chores that needed to be done. Then we flipped a coin and chose the chore we wanted. Then we alternated on choosing the rest of them. She chose the first one, which was cooking. She cooks and I clean the kitchen. She grocery shops and I put the groceries away and so on. So even with the fight, she kept doing her chores and I kept doing mine. Although I would fully understand if she stopped doing them altogether. Me apologizing. I did try to apologize multiple times, but she said she didn't want to hear it. I just wanted to give her space, but should have tried harder. I read every single comment and message. It was hard, but I asked for advice. I 1000% got what I deserved. Now, on to what I've done to begin fixing this mess that I've made. As some of you suggested, I wrote a heartfelt letter explaining myself and sincerely apologizing and begging her to speak to me whenever she felt comfortable. She said she would go to the guest room, and I said no, that I would go there because this fight was entirely my fault and would only return if and when she allowed me to or felt comfortable. I called my mom and let her know what I did. She rightfully tore me a new one, then came by the next day with some gifts for Ali. She apologized for ever feeling that way and assured her that she didn't feel that way now, that she truly loves her like a daughter. They spoke more, but I wasn't privy to that conversation. As some of you suggested, I made an appointment with a counselor so I can learn how to properly deal with my anger and not lash out at innocent people. On Reddit's suggestion as well, I printed out a list of marriage counselors in the area who accept our health insurance. I gave her the list and said that if she's willing to go with me, all she has to do is choose a name and I'll do all the legwork. She said she's willing to go and she chose a name. She works in the mental health field and chose someone who is reputable in our area. She already sees her own therapist and is working through this with her, I assume. I was able to talk to her and she said that she was really hurt by what I said, that she was questioning what my family, especially my mom, and what I thought of her as a wife and a person. Like all the memories with my family are tainted now. Were they pretending? Was it just my mom? What are they saying behind her back during special occasions? If we have kids, will they think she's a bad mom too? When my mom helps her with something, is it to be nice or because she thinks she's not capable? That she was angry I didn't trust her with those concerns earlier in the relationship, so she could either address them with my mom or even see what I thought as well, because she might have made a different choice about marrying into a family that had doubts about her. She also said that she was already anxious about a hard day at work, and I yelled out of nowhere. She told me that if I had just communicated to her that I had a bad day and was hungry, she would have just made me a snack and told me to chill while dinner was ready. But instead, I just lashed out. Or if I had texted her earlier, she would have ordered me lunch or given me her card number so I could order something for myself. Also said it was about teaching me a lesson about what a quiet housewife looks like and that it's obviously not something I want. And that if it is, she's obviously not someone I'm going to get it from. So to make a choice about what I want. I told her I want to be with her. I don't want a housewife. I want her as my partner for the rest of my life. I just felt like a complete jerk because I just had to communicate and she would have been there for me. I had no right to hurt her She was a partner and I was a jerk. As you guys also suggested, I've been taking over her chores as well as I can because my cooking is definitely not as good as hers, and spoiling her with her favorite things and foods. I've also been doing extra things like drawing baths, serving her favorite juice, lighting candles, and playing her favorite crime podcast so she can relax when she comes home from work. I'm going to keep working together and see what happens. I obviously messed up here. I'm trying to fix it and I'm hopeful. It's not all unicorns and rainbows, but I'm going to do whatever it takes to repair and rebuild what I ruined. If it ends up not working, then I'll know, because I was a big jerk who didn't properly communicate and didn't keep his mouth shut. As someone whose wife has at times had anger issues and said things that were out of line, I can tell you with absolute certainty that this woman will never forget what he said to her. Forgive, sure, but not forget. I'm glad OP is making up for it, but in the case they eventually divorce, he will still have deserved it. If I was in OP's reach, I would have torn him a new one. Boy, have you lost your mind, cause I'll help you find it. What you looking for? Ain't nobody gonna help you out there. Jesus could come through that door. He's not going to help you. Wow, the level of pathetic here is insane. You were in a bad mood, said some stuff that hurt her feelings. You apologized and she needs to get over it. Instead, she's got you worshiping the ground she walks on. Men who have a little respect for themselves don't bow down to someone with a chip on their shoulder like your wife. When did men lose their ability to be men and instead start acting like complete wimps? Edit. I'm a woman. My husband and I have both said hurtful things throughout our 20 years together. But guess what? We move on. We get over it, like adults are supposed to. And if my husband ever acts as pathetic as this guy is, I would make him go to the doctor and get his hormones checked. No man with proper testosterone levels should ever be acting this sad and pathetic. Job interviewer ghosted me and then had one of his employees tell me to go home, so I did. While I do have a job already, I thought it would be worthwhile to see what else is out there. A week ago, I found a job posting on Indeed. It sounded like a good gig, paid good, and is work that I like doing. The only downfall is that it's a 35-minute drive out of town. I had a good conversation with the business owner on the website, and he seemed like a good guy. I explained that I work every day from 7 a.m. to 3:10 p.m., and he understood that there's a bit of a commute to his shop. He asked me if I could meet up with him at 3:30. I told him that it isn't possible as I was done at 3:10 and can't do a 35-minute drive in under 20 minutes. I explained that I would be leaving town at 3:10 to come and see him, and that I would see him when I get there, somewhere around 3:40ish. So I gave him my phone number just in case something were to change, and we left on a good note. I drove rather fast, getting there at 3:37, happy that I got there in under 35 minutes. I show up, business closed. I figured he was somewhere nearby, so I get out of my vehicle to search. I look over to my left to see two teenagers moving some materials. I approached them and asked them where their boss was while explaining that I had a meeting with them. One of them informs me that he just left a few minutes ago, but could call him back to come meet me. He calls his boss, saying who I am. The teenager chuckles, says, "Okay," with a "you gotta be kidding me" look on his face, then he hangs up. Teenager tells me, "He says to go home." I asked him to repeat himself. "He said go home." This time he's laughing uncomfortably. I now have another 35-minute drive ahead of me, and I'm very irritated. I decided to leave as his boss instructed, but instead of driving the gravel driveway back onto the highway, the way I came in from, I decided to leave him a present to remember me by. Some donut tire skid marks on his front lawn as I tore out of there. 30 minutes after that, he felt the need to reach out to me and introduce himself via a private number, but I let it go to voicemail as I was driving, which upon listening to later on, further proved to me that all his negative Google reviews were more than likely all true, and that this person isn't someone to do business with anyways. I'm 31, female. My husband, who's 34, bought me the wrong jewelry for our anniversary. I know the title makes me sound entitled, but hear me out. We had our wedding anniversary this week, but we delayed celebrating until this weekend. We do traditional gifts for anniversaries, and this year is flowers and fruit. He's not great with gifts and asked for ideas last month, and I sent him a link to an Etsy shop that makes birth flower jewelry, and I told him I'd like something with our son's birth flower. I also let him know he could just get me flowers or anything else, and that would be fine as well. For his gift, I picked up chocolate-covered strawberries, wine, and went to a fancy cheese shop to get some fruit-infused cheeses, meat, etc. to make a really nice charcuterie spread for tonight. I'm going to create a picnic in our living room, and I think it's going to be really cute. I also got him a card and wrote a heartfelt message, just for reference. I assumed that he had figured my gift out before our anniversary, so imagine my surprise when I opened a Prime box and found a jewelry box. I didn't open it, but it was labeled birth flower necklace, so it was obvious. Honestly, I'm a little disappointed, but I'm not sure if I'm being unfair and could use some perspective. 1. If he ordered the gift via Prime, that means that he didn't order it until after the actual day of our anniversary had passed. 2. The box was labeled with my birth flower, not my son's, which is not what I wanted. 3. The box and labeling looks very cheap, and looking on Amazon, I think he ordered a low-quality piece. Think Chinese Amazon front, less than $20. When we were younger, I would wear jewelry like this, and it would always fall apart, color my skin, and/or tarnish quickly. I'm a bit upset. I spent a significant amount of consideration and money on his gift, and he totally flubbed mine in a way that specifically seems very uncaring. He's going to be giving me the gift tonight, so I have about 4 hours to figure out how I'm going to respond. I don't want to ruin our plans with a fight, but I'd like to gently tell him that I'd rather he order something I will actually wear. Or should I just thank him and not say anything and just not wear the gift? Am I being entitled? Update. Based on some of the feedback saying that my gift was actually for both of us, I didn't set out the chocolate-covered strawberries with the rest of the food and wine. I gave them to him separately and made sure to let him know they were just for him and he didn't need a share. He did insist on me having to so that I could try each flavor, and then ate the remaining 10 all by himself, so safe to say it was a hit. The charcuterie spread was excessive and delicious. He asked me to explain the various items and was an especially big fan of the huckleberry goat cheese spread. Some commenters asked about my husband's love language. It's both physical touch and quality time. The nice thing about the picnic was that we could cuddle while we ate, and when the food and wine was gone, we celebrated like mommies and daddies do. A surprising amount of people wanted to make sure that was part of the gift as well. Y'all are weird. A few commenters also pointed out that I didn't know if the necklace was all he had done, and they were right. In addition to the necklace, he had also bought flowers and my favorite wine. I didn't say anything about the necklace until this morning. I told him I loved that he remembered I wanted a birth flower gift, but would he be okay if I exchanged it for one with our son's flower instead? He responded, "Don't worry about it. It was really cheap. I just remembered this week that you had mentioned it, so I figured I should get something like that. If you want something else, let's just order it." I should have known better than to spend time stressed about the conversation. He's a very laid-back guy. So yeah, a great night. I'll just add a gentle reminder that these posts don't paint the full picture of a person, a relationship, or a life. My husband and I are very happy. We have an amazing life together, and he's a great partner to me and a father to our son. I'm not some evil bridezilla like someone mentioned, and he doesn't mistreat me. We decided last night that we're ready to start planning baby number 2, so I'm excited to continue building our life together. Be well, Reddit. Karen cheats off my test. Huge mistake. In high school, I was a bit like Hermione Granger in the worst way. I was just an awkward kid who understood the material as well as the teacher did. I was that odd kid who read history books during the summer for fun. I'd constantly be raising my hand in class with the answer, looking for validation. That kind of behavior got me picked on quite a bit by a certain group of students in my history class. They'd tease me, mostly behind my back, but they weren't above cheating off me on the tests as they were difficult. But they weren't above cheating off me on the tests because they were difficult, and they knew that I knew all the answers. Very few of my test scores in this subject were below 100, as history is a passion of mine. Initially, I was flattered, but over the semester, I got the sinking feeling of being used, as these kids didn't show me respect in any other way. Our final history exam was a 50-question multiple-choice test, and it would be worth 30% of our final grade. The stakes couldn't be any higher. The teacher wrote the questions to be tricky. On the day of the final, I scanned through the test in a few minutes. I knew the material and I felt confident. My peers on either side of my desk were watching to see how I'd answer. Their neighbors were, in turn, discreetly watching them. It seemed as if this entire side of the class was hanging on my answers. I answered the first 3 questions accurately, then I went for the almost correct answer every other time. This resulted in a 54% score. I was careful to let the other kids see my test. Then, when I was finished, I waited and I stared at the wall with my test still in front of me. The time was running out and my classmates all began nervously turning in their tests, until only a couple of students on the other side of the room remained. With 5 minutes left, I stood up abruptly, crinkled my test into a ball, and threw it into the garbage. I was trying to be dramatic, and it worked. You've never heard such a stunned silence. I quickly grabbed a new test from the table. There were still a couple up there, missing students. With a shocked smile, the teacher said, "There's only 5 minutes left." I didn't care. I had spent the period memorizing the correct answers. With no time to spare, I answered all of the questions with the answers I had memorized. My friends told me later that everyone was staring. I didn't have the bandwidth to see it. With 10 seconds left, I turned in my test. The kids that had cheated off me looked pale and sickly, in a state of shock. They knew that I did them over. They just didn't know how badly. There was nothing they could say or do. I was one of 3 students that had an A in that class that semester. The average grade was in the lower 60s. That low grade for my classmates ended up knocking several kids out of the running for valedictorian several years later. Oddly, I was treated with noticeably more respect after this, and I wasn't cheated off of again, as far as I could tell. My husband will only eat kids' food, and it's ruining our relationship. My husband will only eat chicken nuggets, grilled cheese, and SpaghettiOs. That's it. When we go over to friends' places, he'll actually bring some SpaghettiOs to heat up in their microwave instead of eating anything else, even if our friends cooked a wonderful meal. If we go out somewhere to eat, he'll just order chicken nuggets off the kids' menu. If they don't have them, he just won't eat. If I try to cook literally anything except for one of his favorite food groups, he'll claim that he's allergic to some random ingredient instead of just outright saying he doesn't want to eat it. He'll then try to guilt me for forgetting his allergy. Spoiler, we've been to the doctor and he's not allergic to anything. My husband just turned 36 this month. His food habits were sort of cute and acceptable when we were both in college and eating like trash, but now I'm genuinely worried about his health. I also find myself avoiding any sort of dining situations with our friends, which is so much harder than it sounds. I've tried talking to him about his eating habits, and he just brushes me off. Since I don't cook his meals, the only victory I've had in this situation, he doesn't think I have the right to dictate what he can and can't eat. I'm not his mother, I'm his wife, but I just want my husband, the man I love, to be healthy. What do I do? Edit. We met when I was 19 in my sophomore year of college. We got married after graduation and moved in together shortly after. I didn't realize how strict his diet was until after we were married. It does sound like avoidant restrictive food intake disorder, and I agree that we do need counseling. There's a good counseling center nearby that I found last night that offers couples therapy. I want to try them first. I'm going to bring it up to him tonight and really try to explain how much this issue bothers me, and how at the very least we should discuss this with a counselor to find a place where we're both happy. We started dating when I was 19 and he was 32. Looking back, I definitely wasn't mature enough for a serious relationship, but he's always been thoughtful and understanding. Update. So I did it. I confronted him when he came home. I brought up this condition that he may have, which he seemed very open to. He seemed sort of relieved that it's a fairly common disorder. Some of you absolutely called it. He explained that he was extremely embarrassed and defensive when I had tried bringing the issue up with him before. When I explained how much it hurt when he shut down on me, he seemed genuinely surprised. He had no idea this issue was so important to me. I'll admit, I did cry a bit as I told him how worried I am about him eating himself into an early grave. His foods are not healthy, and by the end of our conversation, we both agreed to work together to overcome this. We'll be going to couples therapy this weekend at a local clinic. From there, we'll look into seeing a dietitian and a specialized counselor for his eating disorder. However, I called his mother while he was at work. I asked her about his eating habits as a kid, if there were any foods he sort of liked or anything he was really adverse to. I like the idea of making weekly meal prep together so that there's no surprises and we can collaborate on slowly introducing new foods. I was hoping this conversation would give me a good starting point when I talk with him. His mother is a very sweet woman and told me all of the foods that he would sort of eat and everything that he refused to. But she offhand mentioned that he has sensory processing issues. I asked her to elaborate and she did. It turns out he was diagnosed as a kid. He even went to an after-school physical therapist for many years to deal with sensory issues. He never told me any of this. When I spoke with him, I didn't know how to bring it up, so I just didn't. I'm so worried he'll deny it or get angry with me for speaking to his mother behind his back, since he obviously doesn't want me to know. I feel lied to and manipulated. I don't know how to bring this up with him because right now I'm just starting to process it. I'm angry that he never told me. His food issues are one thing, but not telling me about his diagnosis and seemingly intentionally keeping it from me, as he didn't bother to mention it today either, is another. It's more and more obvious that the man I married isn't who I think he is, and he's been lying to me for years. Right now, I'm telling myself to wait until counseling this weekend before confronting him. I don't want our conversation to be out of anger, but I also don't know how I could ever trust him again if he was so willing to keep such a big secret from me. Edit. I will be bringing this up in counseling, but I'm not going to discuss it with him until then, as I don't want to let my anger and hurt override my desire to help him. Update. I confronted him about my conversation with his mother the night before our counseling appointment. I made sure to bring it up casually so I didn't become angry again. He tried to brush me off at first, saying he didn't know what I was talking about. After talking for a bit, he eventually confessed that he not only knew of the diagnosis, but deliberately kept it from me. He said I was his dream and he didn't want to do anything to ruin our perfect relationship. I explained how him keeping this from me hurt me. I explained how I could have been there to support him instead of feeling like he needed to hide. He said he wasn't ashamed of it at all. He explained that it's just not something that affects him anymore. I again explained how it affects me, but he didn't seem to care. I didn't show him the post I made, but I used some of the advice from you all to try to explain why this does in fact still affect his life. He went to bed upset. The next day, he acted like nothing happened. We ate breakfast. He had chicken nuggets and went about our day. I kept expecting him to bring it up, but he never did. I didn't have the nerve to bring it up again until later at the marriage counselor's office. I spoke to the counselor so as to not seem accusing and explained that this was an issue that bothered me. My husband actually laughed and said he assumed I'd gotten over it by now. When I explained that no, I really hadn't, he got angry with me and stormed out. The counselor tried to mediate, but it wasn't much use as my husband went to wait in the car. I was worried he'd leave without me, so I cut the meeting short. Our ride home was quiet. It wasn't until we got home that I said I was worried he was keeping other things from me too. He said he had been reading online about how some people can't understand his condition, and therefore he didn't think it was important to tell me about it. I said that was the weakest excuse I'd ever heard. He then said I'd leave him if I knew. I said if I left him, it would be because he's a liar. Apparently, he told all of our mutual friends that he had just been diagnosed recently, and I was considering leaving him because of it. Now many of our friends won't talk to me and act very cold when we run into each other in public. I don't know what else he's told them, but I think he told them that I cheated on him, as a fake account has been commenting horrible things about me on my Instagram. I keep reporting them, but it seems like another just pops up in its place. I haven't decided if divorce is the right path. I know he's been browsing angry, lonely, bitter male websites, so I'm even more convinced that this isn't the man that I've married. I'm mostly just confused. I've been avoiding him at home, and it feels like more of a roommate situation at this point. He doesn't really leave his den until it's time for work, and then he's back in the den until bed. It seems like everything is messed up just for me wanting to help. I don't even know what to expect at this point, much less how to move on from here. Update. I'm going to be discussing divorce with a lawyer. I don't know how to bring it up with him, but I'm past the point of caring. You're all right. I dread coming home to him in the evenings. I dread if he will miraculously want to talk. This isn't healthy for either of us. At the very least, some time apart would be good. That's all for now. I don't think I'll update past this, as I'm already uncomfortable with how quickly this blew up. But I will be living elsewhere by the end of the month. I read the first part, then stopped. All I saw was, I married someone who eats like they're a kid, and now I'm upset that they eat like a kid. Why do so many people think that their significant other is going to magically change at some point in the relationship? Am I the jerk for sending him a bill for $1,000 after him and his kid ate all of our food? I've been seeing Jack for 2 years now, but we live separately due to the kids and just wanting to make sure this is 100% all in before uprooting them. I have 2 sons, 13-year-old twins, and 1 daughter who's 11. He has 1 daughter who's 13. We do weekend stay-togethers twice a month so far, and there's never been any major issues, honestly. The girls have gotten into a few petty arguments, but other than that, no big problems. I spend around $1,000 a month in food, and that covers me and my kids, plus Jack and his daughter for the 2 visits a month. I do a lot of meal prep and couponing. Last month, my mother asked me and my kids to go to her place in Louisiana to help her move out of her home and into a 50-plus community. It made me feel more comfortable to have my house occupied in my absence to keep the dehumidifiers and everything running. Huge moisture issues here, and I don't want anything to mold or rust. So I asked Jack if he and his daughters wanted to stay at my place for 2 weeks in our absence to keep everything running smoothly. I gave it a 2 weeks time frame, but was unsure of how long it would actually take. I knew the drive alone would be 2 days there and 2 days back. He agreed. I did my monthly shop before leaving and spent $1,092. I told them that they could have some of my food when we were gone, so maybe this is my fault. But anyways, we got back 2 days ago, 4 days before the 2-week mark, and found my house in ruin practically. Dirty dishes on the counters and table, dirty clothes throughout the living room and bedrooms, mine and my daughter's where they slept. I kept my house clean, so this caused a lot of panic on my end. I grew up with hoarders, so I take pride in a clean home. But the one thing that truly tipped me over the edge was finding that they went through at least 90% of the food I bought before leaving in less than 2 weeks. We were left with a single pack of hamburger, all the veggies, and a few boxes of pasta. Jack started scrambling when we entered the home, saying, "Sorry, I was gonna clean before you got back, but I didn't expect you so soon." I just gave a hushed, "Please leave." He and his daughter left. But after giving it some thought, I told him he had to reimburse us the $1,000 worth of food that he and his daughter ate. I told him their intake was absolutely repulsive, that I said he could have some, not eat everything in the house and leave us with nothing. He said that he had allowed her to have some friends over, and they are a lot, but he shouldn't have to give me $1,000, given that I told him they could eat the food. That I have more than enough money, true, and he doesn't, also true. I still want to be reimbursed, however. And yes, we split up. Am I the jerk? ETA, this may make me sound bad, but I wouldn't consider him house-sitting as doing me any favors. All he had to do was dump out the dehumidifier when it got full. I could have asked my neighbor to do that for $200. He and his daughter live in a small apartment, and coming to my house feels like a vacation to them. Their words, not mine. I have a 2-story home with 6 bedrooms on the beach, with a hot tub, a game room, cable, and high-speed internet. They were essentially getting a free vacation, and the only thing they had to do was dump the dehumidifier once a day. I more or less asked for the $1,000 based off the principle alone. I don't expect him to give me the money, but since he was not understanding my viewpoint, it was acceptable. I asked him for the $1,000 so he could open his eyes and understand how big of a deal it truly is. I did the big shop before leaving because I had work obligations scheduled for when I returned, and going out and doing a big shop in the middle of 4 showings and mandatory seminars would have been a nightmare. I didn't buy any fridge stuff outside of what I knew they would eat. Everything I bought was non-perishables, boxed dinners, and meat for the freezer. I didn't leave him over the food. I left him because after I tried explaining why this was wrong of him, he accused me of throwing my privilege and money in his face, knowing he's not as financially stable as me and making him and his daughter feel bad for doing nothing wrong. I've never thrown money in his face, never asked him for anything, and have paid for everything in the past 2 years because he couldn't. I helped him with multiple bills and things his daughter needed without question. So he made me feel stupid, and I won't tolerate it. Not the jerk. Where I live, pet and house sitting would run about $50 a day, and my sitter provides their own food, so it would cost me $550 for 11 days. To feed a family of 4 in an expensive market cost me $2,000 a month. So even if they had consumed half the food, that would be excessive in my opinion. There's no planet where it would be a reasonable expectation that it was free for all on the food worth $1,000. Even with friends over, how did they manage to eat that much food between 2 people in 11 days? If I saw my house in a complete pigsty when coming home early with the house sitter, I'd probably have a stroke. Not frantically clean it like they're a teenager 5 minutes before you get home. And the fact that this is not just some stranger you would expect the bare minimum from, but rather your longtime partner, who you'd think would have more care about your belongings and your feelings, makes it even worse. Girlfriend won't wear my shirts or jackets, but wears her ex's. So I've been dating my girlfriend for about 6 months, been official and everything. When we go back to her place, she puts on this shirt that's too big for her, or this black jacket when it's cold. I asked her where she got them from, and they were from an ex. I wasn't crazy about it, but whatever. When she comes over to my place though, or it's cold outside and she doesn't have a jacket, she doesn't want to wear mine. One time in particular, we're hanging out in my backyard, playing with my dog, and she was shivering. I asked her if she wanted a jacket, but she insisted on not wearing it. Later that same day, we went back to her place. She needed to run some errands and was going to go out again. As she was getting ready, she put on her ex's jacket. Am I overthinking this? I feel kind of hurt that she doesn't want to wear my shirts or jackets. Try not to focus on this. But I think it's weird and it would annoy me as well. Have you told her how you feel about this? That might help, and then drop it. Sorry, man. OP. I've tried to. I haven't straight up told her to stop wearing those shirts or jackets, but I asked her why she didn't want to wear mine. She simply said they're not her style, which feels like absolute BS, because the shirts from her ex have pit stains, and the jacket has a hole in the pocket and a zipper that gets stuck. Bro, that's a legit what gives moment. It's like, ex's shirt is comfy, but not yours? Nah, it's not about jackets, it's about feels. Maybe she's not connecting your stuff with coziness yet. Maybe her own hang-ups. Chill, don't overthink, but also communicate. Share your feels, ask about hers. There might be more to the jacket drama. If she's still rocking the ex's gear, it's worth a conversation. Keep it real, but keep it cool. Jackets aren't just fabric, they're feelings, man. OP. We were friends for under 2 years before we started dating. She was with her ex for less than a year. If that's the case, then it really is frustrating. Update. So I had a chat with my girlfriend this morning, and I basically told her that I was really bothered that she chooses her ex's clothing over mine. She said that they are just clothes, but I explained to her that the visual of me offering my jacket and then she rejects it and goes back to her place to use her ex's really bothered me. She took a second and was like, oh. I asked her how she would feel if I did something similar, and she realized she'd be bothered by it. She said my jackets are fine, just that she didn't like the color. She apologized and said that her shirts are just shirts, but she didn't realize how it looked from my point of view. She said she had an idea, so she drove us to a local clothing store. She bought me a jacket. Then she said that I better not complain when she uses this jacket once it smells like me. So yeah, everything turned out great. Edit. She also offered to toss her ex clothes away, but I told her she didn't need to. It wasn't the clothes themselves that bothered me, it was how she was acting with them when compared to mine. Am I the jerk for moving out after my parents told me to give my space to my brother and his family? I, 27 female, live with my parents. I have a job and I've been helping them by paying rent and buying groceries. My brother is married and they have 2 kids, a 2-year-old and a newborn. He recently lost his job and has asked my parents if he can move back in until he's back on his feet. My parents told me that I would need to move out of the basement suite in the house and into my mom's hobby room while my brother and his family stay with them. I did not agree, and they said it was their house and their rules. I don't really own a lot of stuff. Everything in the suite belongs to them. I don't even own my bed. I packed up my clothes and my laptop, and I went to work like usual. I went out of town for 14 days, then I got 7 days off. While I was at work, I booked an all-inclusive for my week off. It cost me less than rent and food at my parents' house. I told my parents my plans, and they were cool with it. I started getting texts a few days ago asking where my rent and grocery money was. I said that I moved out, that if I wasn't living there and eating there, I wasn't going to be giving them money. They got really upset because they were counting on the money to help support my brother. They said that I moved out without giving notice. I said that they literally gave away my living space and that I didn't owe them anything if I wasn't there. I asked them how much they were charging my brother. I was giving them $1,800 a month, Canadian money, for rent and food, and I was only home a maximum of 14 days a month, usually less. My brother called me to say I was a jerk for not helping him out. I pointed out that he hadn't sent our parents money when he was employed. He said that he had a family to support, so he needed his money. He said if I came back, he and his family would move upstairs and I could have my space back. I had actually done the math though. I can stay at an all-inclusive which covers my room, maid service, food, alcohol, and entertainment for 2/3 of what I was paying my folks, and I don't have to live through Edmonton winters when I'm not working. I sent my parents $500 to help them with groceries, then I went to the beach. My parents, my brother, his wife, and a fair few of my other relatives are saying that I'm a jerk for abandoning them in a time of need. I think I'm not, and I shouldn't have to pay them anything. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. As you say, you were renting a space and they threw you out. In addition, it sounds like they were overcharging for the space, given that you found a space you like better for less money. Now, there's nothing wrong with helping your parents, so I wouldn't necessarily say your old rent was a problem, but it's crazy that they would kick you out and expect the rent and grocery money to remain unchanged. I can't tell if your parents are jerks or just oblivious. You make an excellent point about how your brother wasn't sending your parents money when he was employed. That makes it clear that your payments were for rent and food, not just because. Honestly, I think it's healthier for you to be on your own anyway. It's natural for kids to become more independent as they mature. Am I the jerk for expressing to my in-laws that I don't want to be their server for their family Christmas dinner? I'm a newlywed, and my in-laws are rolling into town for Christmas and staying at my husband and I's new house. They mentioned wanting to dine out for Christmas dinner, but I offered to whip up a home-cooked feast instead. Unfortunately, they turned down the offer. Now, here's where it gets interesting. I'm currently working as a server in our town after recently being laid off from my corporate job. Lucky for me, the restaurant is closed on Christmas Eve and Christmas. Well, turns out my mother-in-law had other plans. She called up my workplace without speaking to me beforehand and asked for me to be their server for their entire Christmas dinner. I found out through my husband that I'd be playing the role of their server for their festive family celebration, and my Christmas gift would be a sweet tip and takeout from my restaurant. Seems a bit odd, especially since our restaurant isn't even open on Christmas Eve or Christmas, and I'd be available to spend time with them on those days. They're scheduling this dinner before we close and making it their designated family celebration. I politely declined because let's be real, being excluded from Christmas dinner while working as their server, that's a hard pass for me. Unfortunately, I was told that I was being dramatic and there's nothing weird about me being their server for their family's Christmas dinner. Thoughts? Not the jerk. That's insulting and spiteful. We don't want you to cook or be a participant in our Christmas celebration, but we'd love to come to your workplace and have you serve us. So technically you're there with us, but you can't contribute to the conversation and are required to be polite because it's your job. And to say your gift is the tip and takeout? What on earth is this? I'd tell your boss that you request to not serve them or switch with a coworker or call out last minute or something. How does your husband not see the offense in their actions and isn't supporting you? OP. I felt like it was very offensive and couldn't really understand why they thought it was weird that I said no. If the roles were switched, my family would never do that to their son-in-law. I've served my husband, friends, and family in the past, but not on a holiday where I was being isolated. I feel like I'm being gaslit. Am I the jerk for having the power to my apartment disconnected after being asked to leave? 18 months ago, I moved into my best friend's apartment because she was struggling to pay rent. Having a pretty good income, I paid the majority of the bills, including all of the electric, heating, internet, food costs, and half the rent. I was paying roughly $1,800 per month while she was paying $500 per month. 10 months ago, my roommate's mother moved in with us and the financials didn't change. I was still paying half of rent, all of the electric, heating, food for 3 people and internet. Her mother paid nothing. My roommate met a guy about a month ago from the other side of the country, and this week they had planned on him coming to stay with us for 2 weeks. I was not happy about it. It was clear he didn't like me when we chatted on the phone. I digressed and said whatever. 24 hours before he was set to arrive, her mother started an argument with me. Her mother is irrational and rude. After a bit of attempting to appease her and it not working, she told me, "If you have a problem, you can leave." And I said, "When do you want me to leave?" And she said, "Right now." So I packed a bag and left. 2 hours later, the police showed up to my parents' house to speak to me about the happenings of the night. Her mom claimed that I made her feel scared and demanded a police officer escort me to retrieve my belongings from the apartment. The police told me I don't need them there to retrieve my stuff, and if they try to block me from getting my stuff, to call them. Last night, I brought a buddy and a truck, and in an hour and a half, we moved all of my belongings out from the apartment. Today, I called the electric company to have them cancel my electric as I no longer live there. The electric company let me know that they'll be shutting off the power to the apartment tomorrow and reminded me that if the pipes weren't full of antifreeze, they might burst. Am I the jerk for not giving my roommates a heads up that they will be shutting off the power? Also, I'm not on the lease. Not the jerk. You're not obligated to pay for anyone's power. Plus, her mom filed a false police report in order to try and get you arrested. I think the leniency ship has sailed. I agree. Not the jerk. They have every right to turn off the power the moment they leave. It's not their responsibility to pay for anyone else. Not the jerk. Just tread carefully. You turning up with a big strong man with a scary truck and turning off the water could be claimed as harassment and the situation twisted against you. In my jurisdiction, I would send a letter through a lawyer saying for them to not contact you at all, and in genuine cases where communication is needed, go through a lawyer and also notify them you removed yourself from the utilities as you no longer live there. Not the jerk, but you need to tell the landlord so that he can tell them. Let him know that you moved all of your belongings out of the apartment and you're giving up your tenancy. That way, he can't name you in the eviction that's going to happen. Karen is demanding I take care of her cat since she's pregnant. My wife, who's 28, and I, 36, are expecting our first baby. 3 years ago, my wife decided she desperately wanted a cat. I can't stand cats and all animals that stay in the house, really, so I was against it. She wouldn't stop talking about it, so finally we made a deal that she could get a cat, but it would be her responsibility and I wouldn't have anything to do with it, and she agreed. She stuck to her word and I stuck to mine. I mostly ignore the cat. Now she's pregnant and asked me if I can scoop the litter until she gives birth because of toxoplasmosis. But I looked it up, and as long as she wears gloves and washes her hands, she should be good. So I told her absolutely not. She wasn't happy, but I reminded her of our agreement. When we got the cat, I told her that it was her responsibility, and if she didn't want to take care of it anymore with the new baby coming, we can get rid of it and find it a new home. She said no and has been scooping the litter. Her sister was over and saw her doing this and flipped out at me, telling me how dangerous it is. But of course, her sister is going to be on her side and overreact. I never wanted the cat, so I don't see how I'm in the wrong. You're the jerk. Even if she finds some safe ways to do it, it's still recommended that pregnant women don't change a cat's litter box. You're really going to stick to this agreement for your wife and baby's health? You know it's just temporary. You know she'll go back to changing the litter box once she has the baby. But why risk your baby's health by the possibility of her getting toxoplasmosis? Just to stick it to her? To have a reason to get rid of your wife's cat? You're the jerk. The 5 years my husband and I have been together, I have done the litter. As soon as I popped positive, he took over the chore immediately. Not just for the toxins, but the smell makes me sick too. Is it really that hard to be a good husband? Right now, you sound like you suck. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his wife? Please let us know. My half-siblings feel left out, and I don't care. My parents were married and had me, I'm 16 female, and my brother, 18 male. My dad had an affair with Kate, and mom and him divorced. Ellie, 11, was the result of the affair, and Tommy, who's 9, was born when dad married Kate. A year later, Kate passed away. My dad's family rallied around my half-siblings and tried to make up for the loss of their mother. My mom shared custody of me and my brother with my dad. He had asked her to include Ellie and Tommy in her life after Kate had passed, and even told my brother and I a few times that they would be coming to mom's with us, and she'd be their mom now too. My mom never did take Ellie or Tommy into her home. I don't even think she's ever interacted with them. When I look back at moments where everyone was present, she was always one side with her family, and dad was another with his and my half-siblings. Ellie and Tommy, as they have gotten bigger, have expressed all the emotions you might when you don't have a mom, but you sometimes share a home with kids who do. They get jealous, sad, frustrated. They've asked us to share mom with them. They've wanted to come along when they hear mom is taking us on vacation. They've wanted us all to spend Christmas together. All kinds of stuff. They also have just dad's side of the family since none of Kate's want to be in their lives. But we have both sets of grandparents and aunts and uncles involved in our lives. A few times over the years, dad or my grandma or uncle have asked me if I don't dislike that mom wouldn't open her heart to kids who are part of my family. I always said no, because they are not her kids, and so it doesn't make sense to me that she would. My dad wanted to try and get my half-siblings' wish to come true for Christmas, where we'd all get together, which would include my brother and I and our mom. Mom said no. She did not engage with him beyond her no. Ellie and dad then tried to get me to talk mom around, and I said no, and I told them I did not want to talk her around. Ellie got upset after hearing that and left. Dad and my grandparents then cornered me later and asked me how can I say that when I know Ellie and Tommy feel left out and that they crave mothering. I told them I don't care if they feel left out because it's not my mom's job to mother them, and I would never expect her to do it, and since one can't be fixed without the other thing happening, like them feeling left out can't be fixed unless they feel like they now have a mom and my mom, then I realized it's not going to happen. They told me my mom could and should have love for them as her children's siblings. I told them dad should have thought about that before he cheated on her and got another woman pregnant while he was still married to my mom. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. As much as I feel sorry for these kids, Your mom shouldn't be pressured to mother them precisely because they are the result of the affair. If your dad is so desperate for them to have a mom, he should remarry. You're the jerk, because this is a case where you're right on the fact that it's not your mom's job, but you are a jerk for the utter lack of empathy towards your much younger half-siblings. They didn't ask to be a product of an affair. They didn't ask for their mom to pass young. Your dad is a mega jerk for sticking you in between your siblings and his ex-wife, but do remember that they're innocent in this before saying, "I don't care about them." My wife kept interrupting my meetings, so I no longer work from home. I work in the medical field. I often discuss confidential information with clients and doctors. I'm not a doctor myself. In July of this year, I finally had an opportunity for employment that would give me the option of working from home. I sat down with my wife and explained that this was a good thing for us. I would be home 3 more days every week. I would still be going into the office on Tuesday and Thursday, but the other days I could skip out on the commute. I could help with my daughter in the morning and throughout the day. I could help with supper. I could see my 4-year-old daughter more. Not all the time, of course. I was still going to be working, but our car would be home 3 extra days. My wife could take our car and drop off our daughter with our parents or a sitter if she needed. We talked to my daughter and explained that even though I was home, I could not spend all of my time with her. I explained that if the door was closed, she needed to knock quietly and ask permission to come in, and to accept it if the answer was no. My daughter understood. My wife did not. She was constantly coming into the office when I was in meetings. I had to excuse myself to get her out of the room. More than once, I saw my daughter trying to keep her out of my room. One time, my wife was trying to carry my daughter into the room, and my kid was holding onto the door jamb so she didn't get in trouble for coming in when the door was closed. I finally put a lock on the door. She said she didn't like being locked out of a room in her house. I explained that the door being closed and a sign saying that I was in a meeting didn't stop her. She finally got the point, until this Thanksgiving. I was working on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving, and she needed to go buy something for our meal the next day. And for some reason, she could not take our daughter with her, or drop her off with either set of grandparents, or a drop-in daycare where we have a spot. She instead decided to shake my locked door and knock until I answered. I muted my meeting, opened the door, and told her to leave me alone until the end of the day. She left and texted that my daughter was watching TV in the other room. I talked to my boss, and I went back to work at my workplace starting last week. I hate being away from my daughter and my wife. My wife hates being limited to using Uber on the days that I'm not there, or depending on our parents. Now she's mad at me for going back to the office. I told her that it's her fault for not understanding that I was working from home, not just playing video games in my home office. I feel like a jerk, and she says I am. But I am the sole breadwinner for our family. If I got laid off because of her, we would be in financial hardship. Not the jerk. Working from home is work, not just being home during work hours. Exactly. OP's wife is definitely the jerk. Her husband set clear boundaries, not the jerk. You explained it so clearly that a 4-year-old could understand it. When there is a very real chance of legal repercussions from a privacy breach due to your wife's negligent behavior, she left you no choice. You have to protect the income for your family, so I don't see how working at home was still a viable option. And it really sucks because it deprives you and your daughter of extra time together. Am I the jerk for not going to my sister's child-free wedding? My sister is getting married next month to my best friend. She always wanted a nice snow wedding in the cabins we used to go to when we were in middle school. Everything was going fine until she told me that it was a child-free wedding. Now, that would be fine with my wife and I because we would just drop off my son and daughter at my wife's parents or with their godparents. But my sister had asked them to be their ring bearer and the flower girl. Apparently, they want the kids to perform their duties at the wedding, but then not attend the reception. That means either my wife or I will have to be there with them alone in the cabin while everyone else is partying it up. But wait, I'm the best man and will be conducting the reception, so it's just going to be my wife. What about food? My mom will give my wife 20 minutes to come in, grab some plates with food, and come back because the mother of the bride can't be missing for too long. So they expect me to abandon my wife and our kids, who are under the age of 7, in a tiny cabin that is not childproof, where the source of heat is a fireplace and there's barely any cell signal. This is the day after driving for 7 hours with said kids. Not only do I think this is not a safe idea, considering it would be in the middle of winter, my wife has never even been to these cabins, and the lack of ability to properly communicate But also, I think it's incredibly rude to invite someone to a destination wedding where they are only allowed to attend the wedding. Although my wife says she can manage, she's really gullible sometimes and is a little bit of a people pleaser. I refuse. She's not being treated like a guest, but as the babysitter for the ring bearer and flower girl. I tried to talk to my sister and the jerk I call my best friend, who always preaches about me being there for friends, loyalty and whatnot. But they are not conceding or willing to compromise. I asked if my kids could attend until the toasts, games, and food. Then all four of us would retire to the cabin and let them party. No. If we could go completely child-free and leave the kids behind. No. If I just attend the wedding and retire to the cabin after the wedding. No. My sister is against all of these ideas, while the jerk has taken a temporary vow of silence. So I'm upset and said I'm not coming, which in turn began the messages and calls from everyone. My family, the groom's family, and their and our friends. My wife has openly said that she can manage this, but I know that's to keep the peace. My kids are also upset because before asking us, my sister and the jerk asked them first to participate in the wedding, and they were really excited because they're close with both of them. With all of these calls and messages, I feel I'm going crazy, and maybe I am the jerk instead. So, am I the jerk? Not the jerk. If she wants child-free, then she does not need your kids as props. As a parent, you have the right to not attend a child-free wedding without guilt. Tell her she should hire some local kids for the gig. Am I the jerk for telling my sister it's her own fault her family is a mess because she wanted to adopt? My sister, Lucy, who's 38, has always wanted to have a big family. She and her husband, Tom, who's 40, had their son, Logan, who's now 9. But due to complications, Lucy couldn't have any more kids. She was devastated. About 3 years ago, she and Tom decided to adopt. Tom never outright said that he didn't want to go through with it, but it was clear to see he didn't care one way or the other and just wanted Lucy to be happy. Logan said he didn't want to have a sibling. Lucy brushed over all these concerns with the "they'll get on board eventually" attitude. Long story short, they were eventually matched with a boy, Jack, who is now 11. Lucy said that they all bonded, but Jack had behavioral issues, and whenever I saw them, I picked up on the fact that over time, Tom seemed to be getting less and less keen, and many times when it was just adults, he commented on his worry that Jack had latent issues because of his traumatic past. Lucy adored Jack and rubbished those concerns. I brought up Tom's hesitation, but Lucy said it was just taking longer for him to bond. They officially adopted Jack about a year ago, and since then, things have fallen apart. Jack's behavior has either got a lot worse or Lucy wasn't speaking about it as much before, but it's clear Tom is at his wit's end. According to Lucy, he works late consistently, and whenever Jack has a tantrum, he helps Lucy calm him down and then takes Logan and leaves the house. Logan now hates Jack and won't play with him, which causes more issues, and he started to act out. He spent his last school holiday with my family and is set to spend Christmas with us again because even the family therapist says it's good for him to have some space. Having seen this all unfold has been heartbreaking. Tom and Logan look more miserable every time I see them, and though Lucy would never admit it, she is too. Whenever I speak to her, she talks about how hard it is, but always has Tom and Logan at fault. She's never taken any accountability for the fact that she didn't listen to anyone's concerns. She called me a couple of days ago to discuss plans for Christmas and when Tom would be dropping Logan off at my house. She started ranting again about how Tom has shut down at home with her and Jack and how she thinks he's going to leave. She was calling him every name in the book and then started saying she was disappointed that Logan doesn't love Jack and she can't believe she raised a bully. I lost it. I told her the real bully was her. She bullied her family into adoption as a form of wish fulfillment, and Tom shouldn't have indulged her, but most of the blame falls on her for destroying her family. She screamed and cried and eventually called me evil and hung up. My parents are now saying that I was a jerk for telling her that, even though it's what we all think. But I think she needed to hear it and stop blaming her own kid for being unhappy living in the chaos that she created. Edit. For everyone saying that I said or implied that Tom is blameless, I didn't. I said to Lucy that Tom shares the blame, but I do think most of it lies with her. Who I don't think has any blame, no matter how she tried to place it on him, is Logan. Not the jerk. But what kind of parent adopts a kid older than their own biological kid? I'm surprised the adoption agency didn't pick up on that during the interview. OP. Honestly, there's a lot that I'm surprised they didn't pick up on during the interview. You're the jerk. Adoption is a long process. If Tom didn't want to go through with it, he had plenty of opportunities to speak up and say no. If he was too cowardly to openly say so, there are plenty of ways he could have quietly torpedoed the adoption. You have to meet a lot of criteria to be assessed suitable. He could have messed it up. Lucy didn't force him into this. If Tom wasn't willing to refuse the adoption, that's on him. Tom made the choice to become Jack's parent, but now that it's difficult, he's leaving Lucy to deal with it on her own. Working late and then leaving the house after work because your kid has behavioral issues and you don't want to deal with them is being a crappy parent and a crappy spouse. And it's absolutely feeding into Jack and Logan's problems. Treating Jack like he's not part of the family is not going to help Jack or Logan. So yeah, Lucy was overly optimistic about Jack's behavioral problems, but she's by no means the first parent to be that way. She went into this thinking that she would be a part of a team, and now she's on her own. Tom is a jerk for agreeing to the adoption and then abandoning his post. And OP is the jerk for absolving Tom of his part in this, acting like difficult adopted kids don't also deserve homes, and for what he said to Lucy. Am I the jerk for telling my sister-in-law that if her service dog can't ignore kids, he isn't a real service dog? I have 2 kids who are 11 and 9. My sister-in-law has a service dog who's been with her for about 6 months now. He's 18 months old. It was my son's birthday party last weekend, which she was at, and obviously had a whole ton of kids running around in my house. My daughter also had 2 friends over, younger siblings of the boys, as well as her pets. All in all, there were 9 kids, 3 dogs, and a cat causing chaos. At one point, one of our rabbits escaped and was running around too. My sister-in-law's dog couldn't cope. He was so excited and wasn't paying any attention to her. My daughter and her friends said hi to him, but otherwise left him alone. He was losing his crap the whole time, and my sister-in-law had to leave. My son was a little upset, but overall didn't mind. Just asked that she could come over for a mini birthday. Yesterday was that mini birthday. It was much quieter, just the family, and the dog was still losing it. He was jumping around, and she wasn't able to control him. She had a flare-up, which he ignored. She then got frustrated and asked my kids to leave the room. They did, and he finally calmed down. They came back in, and he got excited again. The kids weren't comfortable, so they went to play, and we had a conversation. I basically said, if she can't control him, I don't want him in my house. She replied that he's a service dog and goes everywhere with her, so I'd essentially be banning her. I said that he was a crappy service dog as he ignored her flare-up and wouldn't even listen. She then blamed my kids, saying my daughter had got him excited last time, and now he thinks that kids mean playtime. I told her that if her service dog can't ignore kids while working, he's not really a service dog. She got upset and left, saying she was uncomfortable with me. Later on, my husband pulled me aside and asked me to apologize because I had hurt her feelings. I said I didn't think an apology would be worth it because I'm not sorry. I meant what I said. He told me he understood, but it's still a jerk move to not even try to apologize. She then texted me and said that he had a situation with a kid when he was in training, but she is paying out money to get him retrained. I don't know what the situation is, but I do feel bad. I think she was trying to use my kids to socialize him, and it hasn't worked, and I feel much worse. I haven't yet responded because I do still somewhat stand by what I said, but I also feel awful about making her feel so insecure. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. You are absolutely right. It's not a service dog. They are extensively trained and extremely expensive. It sounds like she got a dog and someone to train it and is calling it a service dog. 18 months old sounds kinda young also. OP. Yeah, and to be honest, I'm not sure where she got him. She was talking about wanting one, and then like the following week he was in her house. That's not a legit service dog. It takes a while to apply for and be approved for a certified service dog. Then it needs to be sourced, have its temperament gauged, and have an opportunity to be matched with its new owner. Not to mention the cost for the dog and the intense training, or getting approved for a service dog provided by a nonprofit. Sounds like she just got a dog from a normal breeder. Am I the jerk for telling my sister we won't be coming to Thanksgiving since she can't get her kids' lice under control? I'm 27, female. My sister, who's 35, she has kids who are 12 and 10, and they have lice. She's been trying to get rid of lice for like a month, but they keep coming back. She's tried shampoo, special combs, everything short of cutting their hair, but for some reason, the lice just keep coming back. The holidays are starting to come up, and she still has yet to get it under control. I have extremely long hair that I spend a lot of time caring for, and I've been growing it out for many years now. Obviously, I don't want to deal with head lice, so I told my sister over the phone that I won't make it to Thanksgiving at her house this year. When pressed why, I said it's because of the lice infestation, to which she freaked out and called me a jerk, saying she's tried everything and that the family will be disappointed if me and my boyfriend don't show up. We had a long conversation where she told me that I was being selfish. Later on, different family members called to also tell me that I was being selfish and that if I wear my hair up, I should be fine. Doubtful. This is a situation where I'm okay being the jerk, but I'm not sure if I am or not. Edit. Not to be rude, but I don't need any more lice tips or treatments. Nope. Lice is a plague. I have a feeling she's only treating the heads of the kids and nothing else in the house if the lice are still there after a month of treatment. Has she put all the kids' stuffies into hefty bags and left in a cold spot for a month? Has she removed all the down-feathered products from the house and waited to purchase new ones until the lice were completely gone? Are there any pets, and have they been treated? Some specialty pillows even have to be bagged and stored because their fluff attracts the lice. Not the jerk, lice is insanely expensive and frustrating to treat, especially if you have long hair. I had it 5 times as a kid because I was on a lot of traveling sports teams, and we as dumb kids shared hair products often. Every single time we had to treat it, it was insanely frustrating and painful for me. I can't believe this woman isn't more concerned about this issue. OP. I don't know what all she's done, but I doubt it's everything you're describing. And yeah, my hair is down to my knees. Getting it out would be an absolute nightmare for me. I just have that much hair. Not the jerk, but also cut the hair. A number 2 crew cut on the boy and a normal supermarket lice treatment will deal with that no problem. Update. So as it turns out, pretty much nobody knew how bad the infestation was or didn't know about it at all. A good number of relatives just thought the kids had like a small cold and figured they'd be fine. But when I dropped out, people thought that was weird because I love my sister and I always go to parties she hosts. That's when my mother explained that it's a really bad lice outbreak and that my sister was trying really hard to get it under control before Thanksgiving. That's when a bunch of other relatives started going, yeah, I think I'm gonna drop out too. And before long, it was pretty much just my parents, my sister, and a very small handful of other relatives who were still going. So my sister ended up canceling and apologizing to everyone. She even called me to tell me she was under a lot of stress and she was sorry about how she spoke to me, which was nice. I did send her some of the advice you guys sent. I can't really credit any of you, so if you were one of the thousands who suggested something, I guess feel a sense of achievement. She took the kids to a lice clinic and she's having the house fumigated since it's been going on for so long. They've been staying at a hotel for a few days now while they wait. I don't really know that much about the situation beyond that, but that's what she told me. Overall, it seems like nothing spread to anybody and she might be able to get it under control. Am I the jerk for asking my wife and daughter to leave the house if they don't want to reside with my son? My wife, Rachel, who's 35, and I, 35 male, have been married for many years now, and I also have a daughter, Leah, who's 14. I'm not proud to admit it, but I had another kid while I was married to Rachel through another relationship. That's Aiden, who's 12. I kept it a secret from them, and I paid child support to the mother. I was meeting absolutely all of their expenses. She herself had a good job anyway. She passed away recently, and Aiden was all alone. I did not want my son to suffer like that without any parents. The reason I did not reveal his identity to Rachel and Leah is that I did not want to cause a fight, but now I had no choice. I went through all the proper procedures to get custody of Aiden. I made him live in my house. My wife and Leah did not like it at all. They went absolutely ballistic when they learned about him, and Rachel screamed about how I shouldn't even dare to think of letting him take even a step inside. Leah was saying the same stuff, but I did not back down, and they eventually had to be fine with the decision. They've been absolutely livid about it, and Rachel has been demanding to get Aiden away from the house. I told her that I'm not going to do that and warned her against doing anything to him. Leah got mad and asked me whether I value someone who was born of a woman like that, and I lost my temper. I got up and asked them to get out of my house if they don't want to reside with Aiden. In the end, Rachel was crying and they're not talking to me now. Am I the jerk? Edit. No, I don't want Leah absent from my life. And Aiden is also my own son. I have the right to bring him to my house as his father. For those who are gleefully saying that they hope Rachel divorces me, I'd rather have Aiden in my house than to live with Rachel or Leah without him. I'm rich, and I can make my own path and find another wife if I want to. Absolutely nothing justifies calling his mother the names that Leah did. Using that language absolutely blames him, his mother, and his ostracism. Also, yes, Rachel also talked about his mother this way, not just Leah. I forgot to mention that. And yes, it is my house. It's theirs as well, but not legally. I own it. Yes, I gave them time to process it. I did not bring Aiden in all of a sudden, just to clarify. You're the jerk. Give her a divorce and let her move on with this horrible part of her life. I don't think you know how badly you destroy people when you cheat on them. Some people are never able to recover from that. So just divorce her and let her go. Leave your wife and your daughter the house and go find an apartment for you, because kicking her out is ridiculous. She didn't do anything, you did. You're the jerk. What's more, she had zero time to prepare and no backward information. All of this is a shock to your wife. How you can even be so angry with her is beyond me. I'm sure that your affair partner had family and people this boy could live with. You are sabotaging your marriage and your whole life for a kid who you created out of wedlock. I would first look for other family members that can take him in, and if you have to find an apartment for you and him, then divorce your wife so she can move on from this and try to recover. He also fooled her into thinking he was a half-decent person. If she had known what garbage she was married to 12 years ago, she could have divorced him then and maybe built a nice life with someone who actually loves her. He stole a decade of her life because he didn't want to start a fight, which actually means he didn't want her to know what kind of a man she was married to. You're the jerk. The situation your family is in is your fault. You cheated on your wife, you kept it a secret, and now you sprung a secret like this on them with no warning. And now they have to live with a stranger and treat him like a son and a brother with zero adjustment time. Resentment and anger is to be expected. You need to give them time to get used to the situation. You stepped out on your marriage, and now you're putting your secret son at a higher priority than your wife and daughter. Father and husband of the year. You should have integrated your son into your family's life, not catapulted this huge curveball and said, if you don't like it, leave. And you know who your son is going to blame for the scorn he gets from his sister? You. The person who is to blame. Congrats on alienating your whole family. Not the jerk. As a rich man, you've got all kinds of options. If wife has a problem with you being there for your son, get rid of her. Let her find a broke, desperate guy. There's plenty of them out there. I regret having my son and wish I stayed child-free. Yes, I have a kid. No, I don't really post him. It's not a pick-me thing or a I'm not like other moms thing. Aside from privacy reasons, I've been struggling with the fact that I'm even a mother at all. I was pretty child-free, but due to societal and mostly spousal pressure, I had a kid against my own wishes. It messed me up so bad mentally. Then my divorce happened, and then I became a single parent. I didn't fight for anything more than 50-50 custody. I didn't want more. A lot of crap happened that I wasn't prepared for, still not. It's a burden I don't wish on anyone. It feels like you're on a leash. You can only go as far as the leash allows, but when you're at the end, it retracts and it drags you back. One week I'm free and it feels like I'm getting my life together, and then the next I'm losing my mind. Toddlers are not easy. It's more exhausting than manual labor. You can call me a bad mother. In the grand scheme of things, I am. But what I don't do is show him my resentment. There are times I lose my temper and cry and hide away in another room. There are times I dread when my free week ends or look forward to the week of parenting to end. It sounds awful, I know. It's a slap in the face when people ask me about having more kids or that things don't last forever. Kids grow, yes, but it doesn't negate the struggles you're currently going through. When a kid that doesn't regulate their emotions well pushes the button of someone who also can't regulate their emotions, it's horrible. My life is also beyond kids. It's an entire universe. Friends, family, relationships, career, etc. is a part of it. So is my son. He's not my universe, but a part of it. So for society to reduce me to nothing more than a single mom is insulting. I don't know why I'm posting this honestly. It's not necessarily a cry for help, maybe a place to vent and get my feelings out. I love my son like a mother would instinctively, but sometimes I look at him and feel nothing. When he cries, I get mad more than I want to nurture him. I wanted to give my ex-husband more custody and find myself, but my family threatens to disown me. I'm afraid that my presence in his life does more harm than good. Being a parent is not easy or as enjoyable as people make it out to be. I love my kids, but I hate being a parent. Why not give up all the rights to the kid then? The dad wanted him, you didn't. He should be with the one who wants him, in my opinion. If he pressured you, he should have taken the kid after the divorce. Tell your family if they care so much, they should be watching over the kid themselves. I'm gonna get downvoted to heck for this, but the kid didn't choose to be born. He's going to sense your resentment whether you think he will or not. If you leave him with dad, he will have emotional difficulties because of it. If you don't, he's going to have emotional difficulties because of your resentment. Pressured or not, you had this kid, and his well-being is your responsibility. Grow up, get therapy. His dad is in the picture. You get breaks to work on yourself, so do it. Girlfriend got annoyed when I pointed out her hypocritical views on cheating. My girlfriend and I have been together for just under 3 years. One thing she really hates and has regularly got angry about is people who cheat in relationships, which I agree with. There's never an excuse for cheating, and we both seem to have the same values about that. One of my friends cheated on his partner last year. I didn't try to make excuses for him. I agreed with my girlfriend when she got annoyed and ranted about how wrong he was, and I did mention to him that he was out of order for doing it, and most of the friendship group agreed. My girlfriend went on a night out with some friends last weekend, and the next morning she was talking about it, and she mentioned one of her friends who was in a relationship was dancing with other guys, going up to random guys and having her arm around them, and she tried to kiss a couple of them. One rejected her, and another she only didn't kiss because another of the friends stopped her. My girlfriend was laughing when she was talking about it, and I just pointed out that her friend is actively trying to cheat on her boyfriend then. My girlfriend disagreed and said it wasn't like that, and she wasn't cheating. But I just pointed out that she's trying to kiss other men on nights out. So yeah, she's cheating. My girlfriend got annoyed and said I was wrong for talking like that about her friend, but I just said my girlfriend is being a bit of a hypocrite, considering her previous attitudes towards cheating and her reaction when it was one of her friends. She said I was being unfair to her for nothing, but I just pointed out she's making excuses for bad behavior when it comes to her friends. She just repeated that I was being out of line and too harsh towards her for no reason. How would you handle this? Also, her friend is not in an open relationship. First thing I would do is ask her if she was kissing other guys on her girls' night out, or if she would consider doing so in the future. She seems to think it's okay, so it's a legit question, and it would explain her defensiveness. I'm not saying it's breakup worthy, but if that's her attitude, it's worth a discussion on boundaries. Either your girlfriend actually only gets angry about guys who cheat, or she has a definition of cheating in which her line is drawn differently from yours. Feels like either of those is problematic for the future of this relationship. The fact that her girls' night out involves her friends flirting with, dancing with, and trying to kiss other men, and she literally considers this so normal that it's a conversational topic with you, kind of feels like it raises some obvious questions about her actions during the night. She's doing the same thing and thinks it's okay. This is why you don't date girls who do the whole night out thing. Let others call you insecure all they want to. I'd rather have a girlfriend who wants to kick back on the sofa and watch a movie with me than someone who wants to go out to clubs, drink, and meet other guys. Stop settling for these kinds of partners. The reason your girlfriend adamantly doesn't consider this behavior cheating is because she has done the exact same thing. The cognitive dissonance will never allow her to see this as cheating since she cannot see herself or admit to herself that she is a cheater despite being one herself. If she concedes that her friend is a cheater, then that would involve admitting to herself that she's a cheater as well, which she is internally denying. Girls just want to have fun. It was no big deal. Tell the boyfriend what happened, and your girlfriend's friend may very well tell the truth of what your own girlfriend has done. Just be ready to face it. Do nothing all night for a ton of overtime? Sure, why not? Backstory. I worked at the time in an oil change place. They had recently moved managers from salaried to hourly, because some managers in different cities were just lying and not going to work while getting the same check every payday. And I warned them that if anything, my pay was going to go way up because I'm here a lot more than 40 hours a week. They were good with that, they said. Well, one night I get a call at 7 p.m., 2 hours after close, from one of my guys who was in the shop after hours without permission and crashed into a bay door, like a garage door. All auto shops have at least a few. He got fired. That's not malicious compliance at all, just a setup. So I came in and investigated. The most relevant fact here was that he bent the door so there was a maybe 4-inch by 4-inch gap. A house cat could have squeezed through easily. I called our door repair guys immediately. They said their folks were on an emergency after hours call already, to somewhere 5 hours away. They could be there in the morning. I said okay, since this wasn't a danger. The door was in place, not visible from the street. You'd have to be behind our building looking for this kind of thing to find it. Alarm still sets, motion detectors work. Anyone that broke in through this metal door with a 4-inch gap would have needed tools and was gonna get in even without the gap. We don't even keep more than $100 cash around, and anything expensive to steal was equipment bolted to the floor. Deal with it tomorrow, right? Obviously no. Called my boss to fill him in, and he said to call the door guys. I told him I did already and tried to explain their situation. He interrupted me and told me in super rude and loud words just to call them and not bother him again about it. Then texted me to rudely say that I better darn well stay there until they arrive and finish the repair. So since I was single, had no plans, and was now paid hourly, I clocked in. I decided this sounded like easy money. Pulled up 2 comfy office chairs to make a bed/couch, watched YouTube, and did assorted internet scrolling. Slept at normal times pretty comfortably all the way to 8 a.m. They showed up around 9 and fixed the problem pretty quickly. I was already on my regularly scheduled 8 to 5 shift that day, which I finished. So now let's do the math. That overnight waiting, 7 p.m. to 8 a.m., 13 hours, all at time and a half. So 22 hours at a time and a half equals 33 hours of pay for doing my normal shift plus internet scrolling and napping that was barely even an inconvenience. My boss sees it come payday and tries to give me a yelling over email for trying to rip off the company, CCing all the big bosses, HR, payroll, etc. I reply to all, explain the situation, and include the text screenshot. Suddenly, I'm not the one getting yelled at anymore, and I got every bit of that overtime pay. Yesterday, I cheated. I'm still processing this. For 9 years, I've been strictly monogamous. I haven't even entertained the thought of someone else. My barber has been trimming and shaping my beard since I started growing it. He knows me. He knows how I need it. His work on my beard has even won me awards at competitions. Yes, beard competitions are real. Because he's such a wizard at his craft, he's also very difficult to get an appointment with, and sometimes I have to wait a month before I can see him. I know I should be more proactive and plan my appointments way more ahead of time, but sometimes I just forget or I'm too busy to break away and see him. I flew to New York City Friday night because I had a ticket to a Broadway production yesterday afternoon. I've known about this trip for a month now, but didn't think about getting my beard trimmed before I left until Monday last week. Obviously, my barber is booked out until the first week of January, so I take the L and realize I'm heading to the city looking like a caveman. When I woke up yesterday morning, I took a look at my beard and started entertaining the idea of someone else. What's more New York than an old-fashioned barbershop trim? I say this to myself, and that's when I could feel myself slipping into a series of thoughts that I should not have allowed myself to think about. I open up my browser on my phone, incognito mode obviously, and I start searching for someone. Pages and pages of eager barbers just waiting to run their scissors through my beard. Then it happened. I stumbled across Eva. Eva has extremely high reviews. She's trained in the art of beard shaping. She has a warm smile that lured me in. I booked and I went to my appointment. Eva knew exactly what she was doing. Eva made me feel and look like $1,000,000. Afterwards, I walked away feeling horrible with what I had done, but I don't care. Plus, she lives in a different state from my barber, so they'll never even cross paths. I do plan on telling my barber next month when I see him. I hope he understands and we can work past this. Even if we do manage to work past this, I'll still always be thinking about Eva. My family forgot to invite me to my grandparents' funeral, but they are convinced that I was there. I'm in my 30s, female, and caused a major blow-up in my family, and now none of them are talking to me. For background, my hometown is tiny, 500 population, and when I went 2 hours away to the city, 15,000 population, for college, I loved it. I ended up staying after graduation, got married, and I'm happily here for a decade. I visit my hometown every few weeks or so, call and text my family nearly daily, and I thought we were all good. My family's pretty small, just my brother, mom, stepdad, dad, stepmom, and an aunt and uncle. Mom's siblings, never married, no kids. My mother's grandparents moved to my hometown when I was in high school and were just down the street from us. My family has always been pretty drama-free, aside from my parents' divorce when I was a kid, and we've been happy. The step-parents were blended in perfectly, and we share holidays and celebrations together. We're all super close and just the perfect little group. Ever since I moved away, the topic of when am I moving back is constant, and I've always laughed it off. My hometown has nothing. You have to drive 30 minutes for milk and bread, 60 to 90 minutes one-way commutes for work, and floods shut down the main road every Easter. I love the town, but I love it here more. I have parks, stores, community events, and a library. The city is great. My family grumbles that I need to move back, but I refuse. I've been trying to encourage them to come here, especially since it's not an hour drive to the nearest medical facility. Now to the meat and potatoes. Both my parents passed away recently. They were both old, and their health had been failing for a while, so it was only a matter of time. They both passed in their sleep months apart. Both were cremated and kept securely under the kitchen sink for safekeeping until lockdown blew over. That was 2021. Well, I just found out my family held a funeral for them and scattered the ashes in my uncle's maple grove over the summer. No one said a word to me about it. I visited numerous times before and after, and not one word. I only found out because my great uncle from California posted on Facebook a few weeks ago that he is entering hospice and was so thankful his health stayed strong enough for him to see his little sister, my grandma, to her final resting place. I was confused and called my mom. She was like, "Yeah, the funeral we had in July, remember?" Y'all, I visited them for the 4th of July. They did the funeral on the 8th. Not a word about it to me. They had planned this for months. Long enough to arrange for my great uncle to be brought over from the other side of the country. Apparently, they talked about it all the time. Everyone's convinced I was at the funeral. They swear I was there. I can prove I wasn't because Google's got my location history. My hubby is baffled because he was supposedly there too, but he had to work every weekend in June and July. Time clock doesn't lie. My family straight up forgot about me. I'm hurt, I'm sad, and they're upset with me for lying. They think I'm causing drama over nothing. Nothing I can say will convince them that I wasn't there. My family is united in this. They've all put me on red until I admit that I'm wrong. They think I've gone nuts. Either there's a doppelganger of me attending events, or my family doesn't want to admit that they messed up. I'm not backing down. Thanksgiving is coming up, and my family's been vague posting on Facebook about forgetful kids and mental health. It's so weird, and I don't know if I'm in a bizarro world or what's going on. My mom's best friend reached out and said I should just admit I was wrong in apologizing, that I'm causing my mom so much unnecessary stress. I asked her if she's checked everyone's home for CO2. We checked our CO2 and our testers are running just fine. I've reached out to a few people in my hometown to check in on my folks, and they all say that they're fine. I even spoke with the local volunteer firefighter group to see if they could check for gas leaks. Not sure if they were able to. I don't know what to do. I've shown them the proof that I wasn't there, but they know I'm tech savvy and just assume that I photoshopped it. Hubby says we need a break and we're going to be staying home this holiday season. Yeah, they know that they messed up big time and they don't want to admit it. But they created this narrative to make themselves look and feel better, and now they've pushed it so hard that friends in the community are in on it. They might even believe it themselves at this point. It can happen. I agree with your husband. Take a break and decide what's best for you going forward. Families can be real difficult, especially with self-created drama. OP, that's kind of our thoughts, that they forgot and don't want to lose face in the community, and now they've dug themselves in so deep they can't get out. If they truly do believe it, it scares me that they've all agreed to this delusion. I feel like I need more info, but not even sure what to ask. However, to me, it sounds intentional they didn't invite you, and we're maybe hoping this would make you want to move home again, so you don't forget any more family events. If anyone said something like, "Well, if you lived in town, you would have known," then that's the answer. It would also make me want to find out how everyone else was told about said funeral. Were they called, texted, emailed? Maybe if everyone else was invited in person, they did just forget to invite you. But even that would seem kind of like a stretch if you do go back and visit and call as much as you say. Update. Thanksgiving just happened. Hubby and I stayed home. We got a small turkey and made our own little Thanksgiving. It was nice. We ate around noon, then watched a movie, and sat outside with a bottle of wine to watch the sunset. We usually take the day before off, drive to my folks, stay the night, and help with Thanksgiving Day cooking. So it wasn't until Wednesday night that my mom broke the silence. Mom called and asked when I was showing up, and I told her we were staying home this year, but for them to have a happy Thanksgiving and to give the rest of the family my love. She was quiet for a long time after I said that, and I think she eventually mumbled an "okay" or something and hung up. It wasn't an angry hang-up, just a hang-up. On Thanksgiving Day, I sent a group Happy Thanksgiving gift to our family group chat. I received a few Happy Thanksgivings back. No one said anything else. there's been no posts on Facebook. My Karen wife is demanding I sell the business that I love. My wife, who's 35, and I, 42 male, have been together for 14 years. This year, after 9 years of university and residency, she is officially an MD, anesthesiology, which is why it took 9 years. I'm incredibly proud of her. Now, I'm a tuna fisherman and charter owner. I own 2 boats and licenses through my company. I bought the first license at 21, the second at 25. Both are now paid off. I make a very good living. I charge $2,000 for a day of tuna fishing per person, up to 5 clients per day from July 15th to November 15th, and I'm booked at least a year in advance. But the money, while obviously important, isn't the draw for me. This is truly my passion. It's the only job I've ever known, and I can't imagine my life without it. I left this year the first week of July, as I always do. But this year, my wife has started insisting that I start to think about selling the licenses and the boats, because she feels it's time to start a family, and that since she's a doctor, I should sell them to stay home, raise our kids, and be home all year. I told her in no uncertain terms that I love her. I want kids with her, but I am not now, or for the foreseeable future, selling my businesses, or giving up the business that I have loved since I first went tuna fishing with my father when I was 12. I would be miserable without it. Now, I want to be clear. My wife has no power over my business. I got an ironclad prenup to protect my business and home and property before we got married. It doesn't protect our personal assets or accounts. She would be entitled to half of our savings, and it's not like my wife was hard done by. She didn't pay a penny for her education. I paid the bill to the tune of hundreds of thousands. I paid for our home, bought her a vehicle to travel to school with, so there's no financial mistreatment on my part. Her issue with my job is that I'm not home for 4 months a year. We live in Ontario, Canada, but my charter boats are on the southeastern shore of Nova Scotia, and that my job is dangerous. She knew both these things from our very first date. My wife is adamant that she wants this done, and it just isn't happening. She keeps saying how she'll be so busy as a doctor that she can't be home to raise the kids, but personally, I don't see how that's any different than my situation, aside from me actually having 8 months a year off. I'm not sure why she thinks that I should give up my dream job now that she has attained hers. Personally, I feel that she's ashamed to tell her new snooty work friends that I'm a fisherman, even though I make as much or more as they do, as this literally began as soon as she started her new job and started hanging around with a much higher class of people. A class of people that I'm not fond of, but I would never tell her who to have as friends. She denies this, but the way she suddenly altered her friend circle and started fighting with me about this as soon as she finished her residency and started her new job with her new friends tells me otherwise. She also has expressed interest in selling our property, 120 acres, to move to a condo in the city, and that's another area I just won't compromise. I did offer her that we could look at buying a condo and living there during winter, but I'm not selling my property. She also doesn't want to accept that. I'm willing to compromise, but this is my home and we can afford it. I'm not giving it up. When I'm not working, I'm hunting and fishing on this land. It's my favorite place in the world that isn't the Atlantic Ocean. I have no intention of retiring for at least another 25 years, and when I do, I plan to give the licenses and gear to my son from a previous relationship, and the reason I built this business to begin with. I never wanted my son to see me as a failure. He's 20 and is a mate on my second boat. My wife seems to think I'm a jerk because I want to be gone from her 4 months a year, and because with my investment portfolio and business worth multiple $1 million, I absolutely could retire and live well. I think she's the jerk because she seems to think that I should be miserable in order to make her happy. I'm honestly not sure my marriage can survive this because there's absolutely no chance that I'm selling my business or retiring. But am I wrong here? Am I the jerk? I literally spent a decade making her life as easy as I possibly could. I'm in no way saying med school is easy, but she finished with no debt or responsibilities outside of the home. Few med students can say that. I also feel there's been a big change in the way she looks at me and my profession ever since she became a doctor. The profession that paid for her to get to where she is today. I am who I am, a country boy who had a dream to make a living doing something he loved. I feel like she feels that having a fisherman husband is embarrassing now that she's a doctor. There's 3 things I want to be clear about before people go there. 1. Nobody is cheating or suspects the other is cheating. 2. Never has there been any expectation that I would retire young. I never suggested it, and she never brought it up until these past few months. And 3. We can afford whatever help we would need to help with our future kids for the months I'm gone. But she doesn't want her kids to be raised by nannies. So Reddit, am I the jerk? If my marriage falls apart, is this my fault? Because this is weighing extremely heavy on me right now, but I don't feel I'm in the wrong in any way. Edit. So I wrote my wife a long email. No, this is not how we generally communicate, but she's on call and staying at the hospital. She called me back, quite upset, especially since I told her I felt she was ashamed of having a fisherman for a husband. After she stopped crying, she told me that this was absurd and definitely not the problem, and that while she hates me being gone for 4 months, that's not even why she's so upset. She can get through that part. She's worried about the danger associated with my job. My wife is risk-averse. I've known that forever. I am quite the opposite. My dad raced dirt track, my mom skydived and wingsuited regularly, and I grew up on the water with multiple uncles who were lobster fishermen, snow crab fishermen, miners, and lumberjacks. My mom had 17 brothers and sisters, and yes, that's all one marriage. My grandmother birthed them all. I went back east every summer to fish. I love it. But she's not wrong that with that comes the danger that someday I just won't be gone for 4 months. I'll be gone for good. I have the best of gear. Our boats carry rescue capsules, and us captains look out for each other, but accidents do happen. I've seen tiny communities devastated, losing 5 young men to the sea. I've done search and rescue and pulled bodies from the water. She said she's always been scared, but it's gotten worse these last couple of years. And apparently, her mom has been in her ear about it a lot. I love her mom, but she can definitely habitually press my wife on our future plans for family, probably causing her more stress than is fair. We're going to seek therapy as a couple, and for her personally, because she says she definitely doesn't want a divorce, and that she's never been ashamed of what I do and realizes what I've done for her. That's why she shot down the nanny suggestion, not because she was against it, but because she was irrationally trying to get me to bend to her out of fear. I also want her to get help with dealing with her mom from whatever therapist she chooses. She does want a place in the city, and I definitely understand that. She didn't seem to believe we could afford both. Downtown Toronto is expensive, and it's true she doesn't know my finances. Don't get me wrong, she realizes in rough estimates how much money the business makes, but my job also has major expenses. I assured her that between the two of us, we can afford a second home. I'll still have my hunting property and sanctuary, and she gets to be closer to the hospital and much better multicultural experience, which I know she enjoys. We're going to look at renting a place for a while, because the Canadian housing market is on the verge of collapse with interest rates as they are now. It's worth renting for a year or two to see if prices drop. I was clear with her that I don't plan to stop fishing for many years yet, but that when my son is ready, I will let him take up some of the work captaining my boat so that I'm at least home for a week here and there, at least until second boat captain retires at the end of 2025 and I give that boat to my son full-time. But we can figure that out later. Ending my 5-year marriage over a paternity test my mother-in-law requested. I don't know where to start. This whole situation is embarrassing and I'm just done with it. I've been with my husband for 5 years now, married for 3. Well, long story short, his mom was always overwhelming and bold with her input on everything, to put it nicely. I genuinely think it's not fair to be mad at your partner for something he didn't do himself. He can't control what his mom does or says. But what's also not fair is him not addressing it when I'm clearly uncomfortable or upset, and instead just talking me into brushing it off or going with it. I never, nor would I ever, have a back and forth with my mother-in-law. It's just not worth barking at each other. I always kind of brush it off if it's a snarky comment or if it's a better way to do something in her opinion. I'll just tell her thanks for the suggestion, but we're good. It's actually true, the saying, when you marry someone, you marry their family. I think the way to handle it is each spouse should keep his side of the family in line, for lack of a better way to say it. I deal with my parents and their shenanigans, and I expected him to do the same. He never did. He always asks me to give her some grace. Well, it's hard when that person is insulting you. For a while now, she's been making comments about how my son doesn't look like my husband when he was a toddler, basically accusing me of sleeping around. This definitely upset me. Sorry, my genes are strong. What do I tell you? I was short with my husband because he didn't address how out of pocket and disrespectful this whole thing is. It's been a week since my husband, well, soon-to-be ex-husband, told me that he would be doing a paternity DNA test, not because he thinks that it's not his son, but to shut his mom up. Yes, that's what he said. I don't know which one is worse, him accusing me of cheating or this crap, but all I know is this is audacious. I didn't cheat, and I'm not concerned one bit about the test results. I wasn't going to stop him from taking a DNA test or whatever, but I just know that I don't want to deal with this any longer. I'm looking for an appointment, and I've talked to a lawyer the day after he brought up the DNA test, and I've been acting more than normal since. We'll be getting the results in 2 days. I can't wait. He will also be getting divorce papers with that too. I know for a fact he won't even see it coming. I tried my best to make this whole thing work and manage my relationship with my mother-in-law as gracefully as possible. But thinking about it, it's not just my mother-in-law that's the problem, but how he's handling things that's also a problem. And side note, I've never been more glad that I didn't leave my job when I got married. He makes more than enough to take care of the financial side of things. I thought I would get bored. I only have to be on site 2 days per week. Also, I really love my job and the company, so I didn't leave. Best decision I ever made. He is unreliable to say the least. I know that divorce can be hard on kids, but I experienced the other side, living with 2 parents that hated each other and fought almost all of the time. It was hard. They thought that staying together would be good for me and my siblings. Newsflash, it wasn't. It was horrible to say the least. I either read somewhere or maybe my therapist told me that when you fight with your spouse, you shouldn't see it as me versus you, but more like me and you versus the particular situation or problem on hand and try to figure it out. But it's really hard to do so when you start hating that person. I don't want my son to live like that because I just can't stand my husband anymore. I don't know if this is a weird way of saying it, but I just don't respect him anymore, if that makes sense. I just see an unreliable man, and I know for a fact that our fights won't be the same as before. I would have said what a waste of 5 years, but I have a sweet and smart gremlin now, and having a kid really pushes you to be a better person and to do better, so I can't complain. Update. I have a comment about my last post. Please, if you're going through something serious, think twice before posting it. Obviously, I was expecting people to tell me I'm overreacting, or even that I'm a jerk. But there are also people who would leave you with comments like, "You're a disgusting jerk. I hope he takes your kid away from you during the divorce and you realize what kind of monster you are," and go on about their day, which was my cue to stop reading comments that night. The day he was supposed to receive the results, I called my father-in-law and invited them to come over that evening. He was working when he got the results. He sent them to me and told me that he would talk to his mother to finally put this to rest. I informed him that I had already invited them for this evening, and I'm just waiting for my apology before I leave. I asked that he come home so we can talk before they come over. He called, and I basically told him that this is not working for me anymore. I've already talked to an attorney, filed for divorce, and it might be more expensive than a paternity test, but it would be more effective making his mother happy. And no, I don't care that he was working when I told him. I don't think you would have either. He left work and came home. Long story short, we had a spectacular fight. He said that I'm not thinking about my son and I'm overreacting because it's not like he went behind my back. And if he knew that I was this upset, he wouldn't have done it. But he knew. We fought about it when he brought it up. He just didn't care. When I gave him the divorce papers, he said he's not signing anything and he'll ask his mother to apologize when his parents arrive and get done with this. Listen, I don't need him to sign it to get a divorce. It would only make things complicated, but that's it. His mother said she has nothing to apologize for. She wouldn't apologize for having suspicions. She didn't accuse me of anything, and I can leave if I want to. So that's that. I did leave that night because I wasn't going to get an apology, and he didn't seem to understand that him reinforcing that it's okay for her to meddle is why I wanted a divorce in the first place. He eventually told his parents he'll be coming over from time to check up on them. He's their only kid, and not to bother coming over anymore until she apologizes. She wasn't amused. She told me I'm taking her son away. She's not someone that you can talk to, I'll tell you that much. It's like talking to a brick wall. All she knows is insulting or being passive-aggressive on a good day. We're not getting a divorce. We talked the day after. He said I can always file for a divorce, but we should at least try couples counseling because he doesn't want a co-parent. Edit. He doesn't want to lose his son, plain and simple. Although it's not like if we were to get divorced, he wouldn't be able to see him, but whatever. He did say, when we talked the second time, that he can now see that he was wrong, especially knowing his mother. He also mentioned that he'll just shut her down if she meddles this time. But what can I do with just words? I hope he can learn a thing or two on how to deal with his mother in counseling, because she's truly overwhelming. If counseling would help him understand that a couple means 2 people, not 3, and our marriage is a bit crowded right now, then that's enough for me. People saying that I'm overreacting in my last post made me ask myself, do I actually want a divorce, or am I just mad? I wanted the divorce at the time. It seemed like the only solution. But if counseling would help us, I can try to work things out. I hope this is a good decision, If not, I am not stuck. I'll take my son and leave. I have a friend who got divorced in 20 days. When you're on the same page regarding how things would be divided, including custody, it's a matter of how long the court would take to review and finalize the divorce, and you'll be done. That was my plan. Nonetheless, I'm the one working from home, and my son is still so young. It's totally up to him. If he wants to see his son every day when he gets off work, or if he wants to see his son just a couple of times per week, because I'm not tolerating this anymore. Oh, one last thing. People in my last post were debating if paternity tests should be mandatory or not. I thought that from what I wrote, it was clear I didn't cheat, and I have nothing against paternity tests. It should be obvious to everyone that it's not fair for the kid nor the man to be tricked into living a lie. If he was the one who had suspicions, that's a big deal. We would have talked about why he thinks that, taken the paternity test for his peace of mind, and made sure we can trust each other before moving on, all without anyone interfering, let alone requesting it. A woman in a supermarket tried to eject me from my wheelchair and take it from me. I was at a supermarket called Shaw's in the rural town that I live in. It's just like any other store, but with a club that's supposed to make things cheaper. I had to go there for my favorite energy drink and dog food. I used my power chair because I was still feeling pretty weak after having been sick, and I already have joint problems. While I was getting a pack of Monster energy drinks and putting it under my seat, this random lady came up and pushed me and said, "I need that chair more than you do because I'm older." Luckily, I was strapped in, so nothing bad happened. Normally, I would have unstrapped to lift something heavy like the energy drinks. I told her to stop, and she took my chair, insisting that I should use one of the scooters they provide in the store. I was stunned and said, "This is my wheelchair. Please leave me alone." She kept insisting that I couldn't use my own chair in the store and tried to take it from me. So I quickly moved away at full speed on my chair, leaving her behind on a slow store scooter. It was pretty ridiculous. I went to the service desk and explained what was going on. The woman was following me and making a loud fuss. It took her ages to reach the desk on that slow scooter. She was yelling about me not needing the chair and causing a scene. When the staff told her it wasn't store property and she couldn't take it from me, she suddenly asked about artichokes, acting like nothing had even happened. It was so bizarre. I made sure to avoid her for the rest of my time at the store because I didn't want any more trouble. Looking back, it was more funny than anything else. As for why she acted this way, I guess maybe she thought she wasn't allowed to buy what I had, and that's why she was so insistent. It's still a strange situation to think about. Some people ask how I fit a flat of Monster on my chair. Well, my chair has a rack under the seat where I put things, and I also hang bags on the arms to carry stuff. I didn't call the police because I live in a small town, and it's hard to get them to do much when you live somewhere like this. My Karen coworker demands I make her lunch. I have a habit of making my own meals to take to work, simply because I love cooking and health-related issues. So I started a new job in a new company 3 months ago, and seeing me making my own lunch every day has gotten some attention, and with that, I was able to talk and mingle in a new environment. My colleagues tend to ask me things like recipes, how long did it take, and so on, just small questions. Everyone was okay, except for this one girl from the same department with me, which I will name her Sally, 27, a junior designer. From the first day she saw my lunch, Sally has thrown in a lot of comments like how envious she is that I could cook my own meals, etc. It was fine until after 1 week later, she started asking me questions like, "So, when will you make me lunch?" I was taken aback, but I thought she was joking and waved it off with a smile and a nod. After that, at least once a week, Sally would ask me the same question again, and sometimes she'd even say things like, "You still owe me a lunch made by you," or she'll whine about me not wanting to cook for her. I've kindly turned her down every time she brings up this issue. Last Monday, she offered to pay me if I make her lunch, for $3. I told her no again, and she was visibly upset. She told me it's not that hard to make her lunch since I'm already cooking for myself every day, single, and I'm being unsociable and unfriendly by not making her food. Since then, she's been passive-aggressive towards me, as well as not willing to cooperate at work when I hand her new tasks. It's made me feel bad about it, and I have no idea how to go about this. Should I have just made her lunch just to keep the peace? This feels horrible, and I don't know how to deal with it. Edit. After reading all your comments, I think I'll try to talk to Sally about this, and if I can't get through to her, I'll have to talk to my supervisor about it. Not the jerk. Tell her you are under no obligation to cook for anyone. I also suggest registering a complaint with HR before she turns this into something else. OP. I've told her that before, but then she'll say things like, "But your food looks so delicious." It's honestly driving me crazy, especially now that her attitude has flipped 180 degrees after I turned her down for 3 months. Am I the jerk for trying to open my room door at the doctor's office? I just had an embarrassing situation happen at my doctor's office just now, and I need to know, am I the jerk? I had a doctor's appointment today at 10 a.m. and an urgent dentist appointment at 11:30. My dentist is located about 45 minutes from where my doctor is, relevant to the story. It's also important to note that if you are even 5 minutes late for your doctor's appointment at this office, they won't see you. You have to be on time. This is common for most clinics though. I showed up for my doctor's appointment at 9:50 a.m. I paid my copay, the medical assistant showed me to a room, took my weight, blood pressure, heart rate, and temperature, let me know my doctor would be in shortly, and closed the door. My doctor is a good doctor, and she's thorough, and sometimes she goes over on her appointments. It's not uncommon for her to show up to the room 15 or 20 minutes late. It's not ideal, but I'm aware of it and try to plan accordingly. I waited 45 minutes for her to come in, but she never did. As I said above, I have a dentist appointment, so I decided to leave. I tried to open the door, but the doorknob is broken. It turns, but the latch doesn't move, so I'm literally stuck in the room. I try the knob again, and nothing. I tap on the door, and no one comes. I jiggle the knob, nothing. I knock on the door, and no one hears. So I try to get it to unlatch on my end by trying to push up on the knob, and while at the same time trying to turn it quickly and trying to turn the knob while pulling the door towards me and also pushing it away from me. This made a lot of noise, and somebody started yelling at me to stop from the other side of the door. They opened the door, and there are 4 of the staff looking at me like I'm unhinged. I apologized, said I had tried getting their attention by knocking, but no one heard. All I got was, "Oh, we heard. We all heard. That was so unnecessary." Went to the front desk to ask for a refund for the copay since I wasn't seen, and they're all still looking at me like I'm some crazy person. I don't know. It was very embarrassing. Yes, I was irritated that I waited for so long and no one came. I feel like that's a normal and natural reaction to a situation like this, and this is a known issue with that doorknob. I've been trapped in that room before, but only for a minute. It needs to be fixed or replaced. Seems like a safety issue to me on top of everything else. And not just that, it's triggering for me to be in a situation like this. But was I acting crazy or yelling or pounding on the door or trying to break it down? No. I don't know what I could have done differently. Wait a few more minutes? Try knocking louder? I'm embarrassed and angry now, and I tried to talk to them when I was there, but I really had to get to my dentist appointment, and I feel like trying to go back and explain myself is just going to be weird and awkward. So, am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Doorknob issue aside, they heard you trying to get out of the room and ignored you. What if you were having an emergency? Rude and dangerous behavior on their part. OP. Well, I don't know if they purposely ignored me. The space of me tapping on the door to when they finally opened it was maybe a minute and a half. So maybe they heard me and were just getting stuff together or something. It just kind of sounded like all of them were talking out in the hall though. I don't know. I can only guess. Not the jerk. This is entirely unacceptable for many reasons. First, anything beyond 10 minutes waiting needs to be addressed. Patient time is every bit as important as provider time, and while emergencies happen, the patient is entitled to be advised and to reschedule if necessary. They ought to give you a refund and apologize. Second, it's a fire hazard to have rooms that you can't get out of, whether because they are locked or because the doorknob is faulty. I would report that to the local fire marshal. Finally, and this assumes you're in the US, there's a regulatory agency where you can file complaints. It's sometimes called a facility services complaint or something similar. I'd file a complaint. It goes without saying that you will need to find a new primary care provider, but you are hopefully already going to do that. Not one of them showed up for my birthday, not a single soul. I'm absolutely broken. The only reason I don't post this on my main account is because I don't want them to know how much they hurt me. I'm writing this one day after my birthday. This day was supposed to be special. I hoped it would be the first good day after a long while. A few months ago, my girlfriend broke up with me. This hit me hard and had a bad influence on my job. Now I don't know if I can make it through the test period, and I'm so stressed out, and my birthday party was one of the few things I was looking forward to. My plan was to start my celebration at a local pizzeria and let the guests choose from several options I had planned for the evening. For this reason, I arrived a little earlier because I still had a few things to discuss with the owners of the pizzeria. Everything was decorated and ready. I sat there and waited. When no one was there, 5 minutes after the party started, I called my friends one by one. No one answered their phones. I figured they were just late and I would just have to be patient. I sat there for about an hour, kept calling my friends with no answer, and kept an eye on the door, but no one showed up. Eventually, the waitress brought my pizza to the table, but I couldn't eat. I started to tear up and kept hoping that at least one of them would come through the door. At some point, I couldn't take it anymore, ran to the bathroom and started crying. After I had calmed down, I returned to the table and saw the waitress standing at the table. I sat down and just mumbled that I wanted to pay. She asked me if everything was okay. I tried to smile to give the impression that everything was okay, but of course she noticed that I wasn't feeling well. The pizzeria refunded my money, also for the pizza I had eaten. I ran home and tried to contact my parents in the meantime. My father didn't pick up the phone, but at least my mother did. I asked her if she wanted to come and see me and explain what had happened. She said she would like to, but didn't have the time. I spent yesterday evening just sitting at my computer and at least trying not to burst into tears, but it wasn't that easy because I saw some of my friends online playing a game. It wasn't even that they didn't have time, they just didn't want to spend it with me on my birthday, and they didn't even care enough about me to at least cancel so I wouldn't have had to wait for them. My mother offered to talk to me about it again today. She said she would call me, but she didn't, and when I tried to call her, she didn't answer. I guess I'm writing this because I'm desperate and just want someone to listen to me. The only people who were wishing me a happy birthday were my parents and the pizzeria staff. I mean, I was used to my brothers not remembering my birthday, but not my friends. That's a hard read, really upsetting. I can only imagine how it felt. Maybe this is a sign that they're not your real friends. Delete them completely from everything. Pick yourself up, start fresh, and go out and meet some people. You can do this. We all know you can. Sometimes we just need a shove to make the jump. OP, having been there myself, trust me when I say there's no point keeping these people around to let you feel consistently crappy about yourself. It only builds distrust and poor self-esteem when you finally decide to make new friends. OP should start making new friends after working through their grief, because I can assure them, most of us would have loved to celebrate OP at the pizza party. This is the harsh truth. Your family and friends don't love you. Here's the second truth. There's nothing you can do to make them love you because they are abnormal. If you think about this and grieve, it will be easier for you to move on. Stop calling them. Stop expecting an explanation. Am I the jerk for throwing my food in the garbage instead of giving it to my daughter? What I did was wrong. I feel stupid. I kind of snapped, I guess. My husband and I have 2 daughters, Haley, who's 12, my stepdaughter, and 2-month-old Hannah. Since I gave birth, up until 2 weeks ago, I couldn't keep down any food outside of crackers. It would just make me sick, which the doctor said was because of me adjusting to naturally feeding and that it was normal. So up until 2 weeks ago, every single hot meal I made was eaten 100% by Haley and my husband, though I still made myself a portion just in case. Haley always ate my portion before leaving the table. She would see it set out on a plate for me that I would try picking at, but as soon as she touched it, I would stop picking at it and she would just take over. I spoke to her about it a few times because I won't eat anything that another person has touched. It grosses me out. So she knew. She just didn't care to stop because it's not like you're going to eat it anyways. My husband has spoken up to her several times and ultimately told me that I just wasn't making enough food because Haley was still starving after eating her plate and second helpings. When I was finally able to keep food down again, I started making more dinner to combat the issue. Like, I made a big sheet pan of lasagna. Definitely should have been leftovers. But my husband had 2 helpings and the rest went to Haley because right after I made dinner, the baby was fussy and tired and ultimately needed to be fed. So I excused myself to the other room, and when I came back a half hour later, Haley was eating the last portion out of the pan using her fingers. So she touched it and I wouldn't eat it. Or last night, I made 5 medium-sized chicken breasts. My husband had 2, Hallie had 2, and I had 1 on my plate. I was eating it slowly so I wouldn't get sick. Haley ate her entire plate, and then she said, "You gonna eat that?" and put her finger directly on my chicken. My husband sent her to her room, but ultimately I didn't eat it. She knew what she was doing. Then tonight, I made 5 cheeseburgers for them. I can't eat hamburger. And 2 hot dogs for myself. Again, I ended up having to feed the baby directly after finishing dinner. They had eaten by the time I was finished feeding the baby. I made myself up my 2 hot dogs, and Haley reaches over and picks up the hot dog, bun and all, and flips it over, puts it back down and says, "Was just checking if the bread was moldy." And then looks up and sees me glaring at her and says, "Oops, sorry, forgot. Guess you're not gonna eat that now, so I can have it if you want." I took my entire dinner, plate and all, and chucked it in the trash can and walked off. She starts crying to my husband about not meaning to upset me and that she was just hungry. She's always hungry from the sounds of it. My husband yelled at me for being childish and wasting food and left with his daughter. He said, "Yeah, I get that it's annoying and I reprimanded her every single time, but you didn't have to stoop to her level. You're more childish than she is." Edit. It's not just dinner that this happens with. Even when I was eating nothing but crackers, she would still ask me for my food. She eats multiple snacks during the day, as well as big breakfast and lunch. She's been to a nutritionist and she's healthy. She has a high metabolism and just constantly wants food, as well as bored eats. Never gains a pound though. She's 5'2", 86 pounds. She's not overweight. She barely gains anything. Not the jerk, but your husband and stepdaughter are. She sounds troubled in some way. At 12, she should understand what she's doing and be able to control it, so my mind is she's touching your food to provoke you. I believe you were right to throw your food away. I wouldn't have touched it after she put her grubby hand in it. Your husband needs to deal with this little jerk. Is she jealous of the new baby? Not the jerk. She's not going to change, and your husband isn't doing good parenting, so you have to adapt and change. Stop sitting where she can do this to your food. Stop fixing her plate. Make her do it herself. Change up how dinner is served. Put hers somewhere else while the adults eat at the table. Change up your schedule. Eat when she's not there or eat at different times than when she does. Figure out what food she hates and fix them. If she starts to reach out towards your food, yell at her as loud as you can. No! And squirt her with a squirt gun. Treat her like the little unmannered feral kid that she is. Just don't sit there and be a victim. Show this girl that you are in control, you're the adult, and she's a kid. I've got a feeling we'll be reading one soon called, "Am I the jerk for squirting my stepdaughter with a squirt gun when she kept touching my food?" Am I the jerk for boycotting my sister's wedding since she accused my wife of fraud? I, 35 male, come from an intellectually pretentious family. I married into a very blue-collar family. Throughout my adult life, my older sister, who's 38, has always disapproved of my partners. I met my wife when she was in college and I was in the Navy. My sister immediately disliked the bubbly and unfiltered college girl and determined my wife was untrustworthy and dragging me down. 4 years ago, my wife suffered a traumatic brain injury. It occurred right around the time we conceived our second baby, so we chalked off the dizziness, headaches, and other symptoms to her pregnancy. Nearly a year postpartum, the symptoms hadn't improved, and she started scheduling medical appointments to get checked out. At this point, she was in the Navy. I was separated and in grad school. Over the next 18 or so months, my wife endured an endless slog of appointments, tests, exams, more consultations, until it was finally determined that my wife had a rare neurological condition that, to be honest, I don't fully understand. She was medically retired and classified as a disabled vet. During this whole process, my sister's way of being supportive was to tell me it's probably nothing and not to worry about it. This past weekend, I was chatting with my sister. My wife had gotten a holiday job helping deliver packages, but called out on Black Friday to stay at her parents' longer. My sister made a comment about my wife suddenly being sick when she doesn't feel like working, and claimed my wife had done the same thing to get medically retired from the Navy. As is the habit in my family, I replied with equally snarky jabs, reminding my sister, who's a nephrologist, that my wife injured her head and not her kidneys and she doesn't know what she's talking about. My sister claimed it took too long because my wife was doctor shopping for the diagnosis she wanted. I told her if I got paid what she did to sit in an office and say, "Keep doing dialysis," I wouldn't have personal days either. I had confronted my sister and my mother in the past about their accusations that my wife was milking the system and needed to suck it up. After some very heated exchanges, they had gotten better about keeping their thoughts to themselves, a feat with my family, but this one pulled no punches. My sister is getting married in September, and I told her unless she apologizes and admits she doesn't know anything about my wife's medical history, we won't be in attendance. Is boycotting my only sibling's wedding an overreaction? Am I the jerk for choosing the wedding as the event not to attend when it is such an important day to her? Not the jerk, but why do you keep forcing your wife to be around these people? Your family isn't just pretentious, they're judgmental and unkind. Your wife doesn't deserve that. As someone with an invisible disability, I have so much sympathy for your wife. Getting approved for disability was a nightmare because I didn't have a common issue. I've seen specialists all over the US, they still don't fully understand what's happening. I genuinely wish that people who doubt situations like your wife's could spend a day in her or my shoes. If I suddenly felt well enough to sit in an office 8 to 10 hours a day, I'd not only surrender my disability, I'd pay it all back to focus on a career job, track important events, get up early, and not be so fatigued that I literally fall asleep standing up. Your sister's career is a luxury your college-educated wife lost. Your sister is awful. Instead of skipping the wedding, I'd say show your wife some support and go no contact with these people who don't care enough to understand her reality. But maybe I'm just too close to the issue. Your whole premise that your wife isn't a faker is a bit undermined by the fact that you admit your wife called out from work on the busiest day of the year just to extend her vacation. Those are hardly the actions of an honest person. I don't know anything about your wife, aside from what you're telling me. However, you hardly paint a flattering image of her work ethic. Karen ruins my professional cookware. The problem started when my girlfriend moved in about 2 years ago. I'm a former professional chef with a great passion for food. Over the years, I've gotten myself a lot of kitchen equipment that's quite expensive. If it breaks, I won't be able to replace it for at least a couple of months, that I take care of as if it's my little babies. I have knives, pots, and pans that I've kept in pristine condition despite using some of them a lot for 10 years or more. I also have a bunch of cheap, low-quality equipment in my kitchen that I call my crap pans. When she moved in, she asked me about them and why I don't just throw them away, and I jokingly told her that I keep them in case I have people with me that I don't trust in my kitchen. Sometime after she moved in with me, I started noticing scratches in my non-stick pans, dents in my knife edges, and deformations in my pots. I started observing my girlfriend when she was cooking and saw her cutting stuff with one of my Japanese chef knives directly on top of the stainless steel counter, and I told her right away to use a cutting board. I've seen that when she's done with a pan, she puts it under running water to cool it down. She uses dishwashing soap in my cast iron pans, and the list goes on. I've told her multiple times how to take care of the equipment and what not to do, and pretty much every time I correct her, she gets annoyed. So last week I came home, and to my horror, I saw my 5-liter cast iron pot filled up with water that had dishwasher soap in it. It's one of my favorite pots that I've seasoned over the course of 15 years. I snapped and told my girlfriend that she's not allowed to use my expensive equipment anymore and showed her the crap pans, and I told her that those are the ones she's gonna have to use in the future. She thought I overreacted, but I refused to budge. I'm getting tired of resharpening knives every other day and having to throw out pans that I've inherited from generations back because they got deformed or rusted beyond restoration. She reminded me of how I said the crap pans were for people that I don't trust and questioned whether I trust her or not, which I do, just not with my kitchen equipment. So please enlighten me. Am I the jerk for banning my girlfriend from using my kitchen equipment? I'm gonna say not the jerk. I'm the same as you. I am a one-woman army in the kitchen, and I have some expensive knives and equipment that I've been gifted over the years. I learned how to take good care of them all. I do 99% of the cooking in my house, and my husband used to also accidentally mess up my stuff when he did. I told him to either do the right things to clean them or to just leave it if he forgets how to use it and I'll take care of it. You explained how to properly clean and care for your stuff, and she isn't doing it. And on top of that, she's getting visibly annoyed when you remind her. She doesn't care about the stuff that you clearly do. Plus, it's not like you gave her no alternative. There are pots and pans and knives that she can still use. I think it's fine to have stuff that's just your own, for whatever reasons you want to have them. In this case, she's not respecting your stuff, so you get to have your own, and she has hers. Well, what do you think? Should OP let his girlfriend use his cookware or not? Please let us know. If Reddit boy scratched my Teflon, he'd need a new head. Am I the jerk for making my boyfriend do all of the chores? I, 30 female, run a small online business from home. November and December are my busiest times of the year when I make a lot of money that allows me to work less during the year. I've been doing this since I was 25, so I've got a decent idea of what I can and cannot do, and focusing on work only for 1 to 2 months is a sacrifice I'm willing to make for the chill rest of the year. This year, I've moved in with my boyfriend, male 35. Well, technically, he moved in with me because I own the house, so it was a no-brainer for him to move in with me. We split chores half and half. He works full-time, 37.5 hours a week. When he moved in, I had a talk with him, letting him know that I can't do any chores in November or December, and asked if he could pick up the slack because I'm physically unable to do any chores, as I can be working anywhere between 12 to 18 hours a day. I take a full January off to decompress. He said he doubted I worked that much, but we would see. I asked again in September and October to make sure that he was aware that I won't be doing anything. I meal prepped in advance, and I felt he kind of dismissed me. Mid-November, we had an argument about my chores not being done, and I reminded him of what I told him. He said that he thought I wasn't being serious and told me there's no way he'd do 100% of the chores because he's working too. I said, fine, don't do my chores. They can wait until I have time. That's how I was when I lived alone. No problem. I don't make much mess anyway. He wasn't happy, but dropped it. We haven't seen each other much because I've been working so much, but he's been more and more upset and blew up at me today regarding the chores. He said I had to have a better work-life balance and to grow up because the house was a mess. I told him if it was a mess, it was his fault because I barely leave my office. He called me a lazy jerk. I told him I didn't have time for arguing and I went back to working. He stood in front of my locked office door shouting how he couldn't believe I was being serious about not doing chores and it was a jerk move to leave it all up to him. He thinks I'm a major jerk for basically disappearing for 2 months and following through with not doing chores. Am I really the jerk for saying I won't do chores and following through with it? Not the jerk. Someone who called me a lazy jerk in my house wouldn't be living in it much longer. He called you a lazy jerk? That kind of disrespect and rudeness in a relationship would not fly with me, and he'd be out. Not the jerk. Wow, your boyfriend is showing his true colors. Believe him. I know that right now you don't have time to rearrange your life, but once January comes around, you should give yourself the gift of losing the deadbeat boyfriend. For what it's worth, I'm married, and both me and my husband have gone through times where we had to pick up the slack for each other for whatever reason. And it's not always a work reason. There could be health issues, the birth of a child, travel, and a billion other things that come up. Your boyfriend is showing you that he will throw a fit and call you names whenever he needs to support you. This is bad, really bad. It should be a deal breaker. Everyone sucks here. You're a grown woman and can clean after yourself. Many people work crazy hours, and not just during 2 months of the year, but they keep their shared living spaces clean. Your boyfriend escalated it by calling you names, and he could have helped out more, especially knowing that you're stressed. I think you need to both sit down and have a conversation, or you may not be happy in a relationship in a month. The answers on here are funny. If the situation were switched and a man said this to his wife, everyone would be saying he is a jerk because she works too and chores should be shared. It should be the same in this other direction as well. She can take an hour or two and do chores. I work for an accounting firm and quite frequently work 14 to 16-hour days, not including commute, and I still keep up my end of the chores. Instead of sleeping in on Saturday or Sunday, I get up and catch up on chores. She can do the same. We get it. A woman hurt you. But no, she communicated perfectly, multiple times, set herself up for success. A 35-year-old freeloader who pays no bills and doesn't want to contribute at all is the jerk. I am a woman. As I said, he's not taking advantage of her. He's complying with their agreement. She can still do her part. She might not do it every day, but she can give up an hour or two of sleep on the weekends to get it done. It's not rocket science. You know full well if a man would have made this post, people would be all over him saying, "Oh, you expect her to do everything and clean up after you, blah blah blah." But when it is a woman posting that she is working a lot and can't do chores, then it's all good and fine. Talk about a double standard. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her boyfriend? Please let us know. I love it when the minions on Reddit get into quarrels with one another. 6 dirty dishes made me quit this place. Perhaps relevant. I opened this location as the assistant manager, took a long maternity leave, then returned as a shift lead. The GM is the same one I was assistant to. In August, the morning cook quit, and we still haven't replaced him. I've been doing twice the work since then. The start of my shift is stressful because I set up the entire cook line alone. In 90 minutes, I do all this. Turn on all the equipment, turn on 6 of the 8 fryers, clean the filter machine, filter the other 2 fryers and turn them on. Top of the fryers with fresh oil, stock up 2 stations with about 150 pounds of meat on each, set up ice bath and batter for both stations, make and hot hold our buffalo sauce, temp all the fryers, start 2 new time control logs, Set up sanitation water and hot soapy water, and have all of the fried chicken ready before we open, so drop about 20 minutes before open. Yesterday morning, I was 5 minutes late due to the snow. There were multiple containers of chicken that were half full or less, so I had to spend time consolidating them. There was also not a drop of batter in the house, so I had to make a whole batch, which takes at least 5 minutes. Finally, all our livers were spoiled, so I had to take those out to the dumpster and take them off the POS. Basically, about 15 minutes of not setting up the line. As I'm scrambling to finish the batter I made, the KitchenAid, Marta, tells me I need to do my dishes. I had dropped off a couple chicken containers, the pan that had the spoiled livers, a bowl, and 2 whisks. She was training one of the line cooks in KitchenAid duties, so there was an extra person. This means she had less to do and was doing dishes immediately when they came to the dish pit. As I'm rushing to open the line alone, I saw her just stand around watching the trainee. I clarified 3 times that she was talking about me. I was so taken aback for multiple reasons. 1, she saw me hustling to do all this crap, and I was running behind. 2, I always contribute to the dishes. I even stay late sometimes to do all the dishes and clean the dish pit and put in fresh water before the evening KitchenAid comes. 3, I'm a shift lead, and she's supposedly my subordinate. I simply said, "I'm too busy right now," to which she said, "No, it doesn't matter." I told her I would do them later then, and walked away to continue setting up the line. It's 25 minutes before open at this point, and I'm only halfway set up. When I come back to get the second batter container, she stops me again. She tells me that, "Dishes are all our responsibility, and we have to collaborate as a team." Okay then, leave them aside and I'll do them later. She immediately says no. I have no problem doing the dishes. I actually genuinely enjoy it. It's soothing to take something dirty and make it clean. The water is warm and the soap smells nice. I just can't wash dishes and also set up the entire cook line while on a time crunch. The general manager, Bill, arrived a couple minutes after the altercation. Immediately discredited my thoughts and feelings on this. He kept repeating that it wasn't a big deal and that she didn't realize I was so busy. When I said that's not the point, her saying no and lecturing me about how to do my job is called insubordination, Bill actually rolled his eyes and said it's not that serious and to calm down. Marta did not need to apologize to me. She was passive-aggressive the rest of the shift. She put me in danger by not calling out basic kitchen safety things like "behind you with hot" or "oven opening behind you." She opened the oven door and it actually grazed my leg and she didn't say anything. Marta then argued with Bill about cutting the potatoes. He said she was cutting them too small. There was a back and forth, then later I checked and the potatoes were cut the way Marta likes them. She runs this store now apparently. I had to work the rest of the shift feeling like crap. Bill even told me I should apologize to Marta so things aren't awkward. I retorted that she should be written up for insubordination. Bill rolled his eyes again. At the end of my shift, I put in my resignation. I told him that he expects me to do all the manager duties, but I don't get the same respect. I let him know that he discredited everything I said and solidly defended Marta. I even let him know that I don't have a job lined up, but I just couldn't take the disrespect. I'm sad. I loved that job. I could see myself there another 10 or 20 years. But the way Bill handled that situation was the glass-shattering moment. I am not valued. I am not respected. I work so hard, and I have a supportive management style. I'm always helping wherever the work is needed. Being lectured on dishes is just straight up offensive to me, and Bill did nothing to support me. Edit. Talk to the office manager of a dental office I used to work for, and I start Monday. To those weirdos attacking me, weird that you assume my income supports my kid, and my womanly emotions have now caused us to be on the streets. My husband makes more than enough for me to not even work, and it's my choice to work. I quit with nothing lined up because I knew I'd have a new job in days, and that I don't even need a job at all. Why do you people spread hate and anger like that? This is just an event that a lot of people here can relate to, nothing more. It's not that serious. Calm down. Am I the jerk for making a scene when my son refused to dance with me? This all started when my son, Ben, graduated high school. There was a formal dance. I was very excited for the mother-son dance. Every time I brought it up, Ben would say he wasn't going to dance. I didn't take him seriously. I thought he was just being shy. When we got to the formal, everything was beautiful. But when it came time for the formal dances, he was nowhere to be seen. I approached my older daughter, Alice, and my husband, who I could see were talking and laughing. I asked if they had seen Ben, and they laughed and said he was going to go hide so he didn't have to dance. I was absolutely heartbroken. My son was literally hiding from me. I stood in the corner during the mother-son dance, watching all his friends dance with their moms. I couldn't take it, so I told my husband and daughter that I was walking home. When they got home, Ben walked right past me and went to his room to get ready for the after party. My daughter hugged me and went to go get ready because she was driving Ben to the party. After our kids left, my husband and I had an argument about what had happened. He said he was appalled at my behavior and that I was acting like a kid. I said that the least Ben could have done was dance with his mother. He said that today was supposed to be about him and his accomplishment, not me. But in my opinion, today should have also been about celebrating the people who helped him get to where he is now. Things got quite heated, and before going inside, my husband said that he wasn't going to force his son to do something he didn't want to do on his day. I was taken aback by this, so I just stayed on the porch, trying not to cry. I thought my husband would support me. Later, my daughter returns home and sees me crying. She gives me a hug and gave me a chocolate bar to try to cheer me up. If no one else, my daughter would be on my side. She danced with me at her graduation. She danced with her father. She understood how important this day was for me. I asked if she was on my side. She said something along the lines of, "I know you're upset, but I don't know what you expected from him." It took a few days before we really spoke to each other again, and after a few weeks, everything went back to normal. Coming back to the present, my daughter recently got engaged. We were talking about it on a family FaceTime, and the topic of when Ben will get married came up. He said he was never going to get married because he doesn't want to deal with another round of dance drama. When I asked him to clarify, he said that he was obviously referring to his graduation. I was appalled at this attack. He won't get married because of me? I won't lie. I'm upset that he still does not want to dance with me, even at his own wedding. Now my husband is mad at me. My son refuses to answer my calls or texts. Am I the jerk for making a scene and starting an argument because my son never wants to dance with me? Edit. Okay, it appears as though the response is pretty unanimous and I have a lot of thinking to do. You're the jerk. When he said, "I don't want to dance," that should have been the end of the story. It sounds like you walk over his boundaries often, and that was one of the first times he's spoken up to you about it. My ex came back, and she's demanding I pay child support. 7 years ago, I was married to my dear ex. We were together for 6 years at this point. I thought we had a great relationship, and I had received a nice inheritance. I used the money first to buy a condo for us to live in, a new car for her because hers was falling apart, and as a thank you for her constant support over the years, and the rest went to starting my own company. I thought we loved each other. We had talked endless times about having kids. We both wanted a family. One day when I came home from work, she was seated on the couch and signaled for me to sit next to her. Then she told me that she was pregnant. I was shocked because we are both women. I started to cry for what this meant. Then she started to cry too and say, "Sorry, but that this could be a good thing now." I asked how on earth could this be a good thing, and she said that this could be the perfect opportunity to us to have the family we always wanted. I didn't have the energy to argue at that point, so I went and packed some things and told her I was going to go stay with my cousin for a few days and come back to talk. I was a complete disaster with my cousin for a week. Then I returned, said I wanted a divorce, packed all of the rest of my things, while she told me that she can't do this without me, and that I'm abandoning our kid. I said nothing. I couldn't even speak. I didn't have it in me to do anything but pack and leave. In the divorce, I let her have the condo, her car, which was in my name, and she demanded alimony. I gave it to her for a year, even though she wasn't really entitled to it. She demanded child support too, but was denied for obvious reasons. A year later, it was done. A month before the divorce was finalized, I met a woman. I wasn't sure about dating, but my friends encouraged me to get back out there, so I did. It was slow. I told her about my past, and she felt really bad for me. We went on dates, we kissed, then she stopped responding to my texts and calls for a week. I didn't know what was happening. She then shows up at my home looking sad. She tells me she's pregnant, to which I think, not again. But she quickly explains that she found out a few days ago. She had an appointment that day and was told that she was about 16 weeks along, but she did not cheat since we had known each other for 3 months. That she knows this might be somehow triggering for me, that she really likes me, but understands if I want nothing to do with her, and left. Ultimately, I couldn't let her go, and we stayed together. The whole ordeal was a bit confusing at first, but we worked it out. Now my company is on the rise, and it's been for years. We bought a house, got married, had 2 more kids, a dog and a cat. Her family loves me, and my family loves her. But then last Saturday, my ex showed up. We were in a family gathering on my wife's side when she showed up to my wife's aunt's house to expose me as a horrible person who abandoned her wife and kid and left them with nothing to go start a new family with a jerk and raise someone else's kid, and that since I have money, I have to start paying the overdue child support, blah blah blah. Apparently, she befriended my wife's cousin's wife in PTA, told her about me, she gave my name, and my wife's cousin's wife was shocked and appalled by my actions and decided they were going to confront me in the family gathering for everyone to hear and show them the evidence. My wife tried to argue back, but was cut off by her aunt, cousin's mom, and in a not very nice way kicked us out with a promise to take my treatment of my ex public and ruin my company. We left stunned, and my wife vowed she was going to start a war if anyone dared to slander me. On Sunday morning, we got a call from my wife's dad, her aunt's brother, to talk about what the texts and voicemails they were receiving were about. They didn't go to the gathering. We went over for lunch and explained everything that had happened. They knew I got divorced in the past, but I never told them why. They were understanding of the situation, but my mother-in-law still said that since I do have money, I should help out my ex, pay the child support, get her a place if she needs it, and be a parental figure in my ex's daughter's life. After all, the baby was conceived during your marriage. She has some odd spiritual beliefs. My wife is now mad at her mom for saying that. My wife's siblings are mostly on our side, except one who's close to cousin and believes his wife, and we've been ignoring the extended family. Update. First, I want to clear some things. I saw a lot of people get fixated on the fact that I gave the condo to my ex. I get it, but in the moment, I was just so low. I still had some love for her too, I guess, and I wanted to get rid of everything. So I thought, well, she will need a place for her and her kid, and it will be faster to just give it up to her. So I did, even against my lawyer's advice. My wife did not cheat on me. She hooked up with someone weeks before we even met. Then we met. A month after that, we went on our first date. 2 months into our relationship, she finds out she was pregnant. We talked and moved forward, but slowly. We didn't move in together the next day. We just stayed together to see how things would go. It could have ended at any time, but it didn't. And we moved in together when her kid was about 1 year old. Mother-in-law has some weird spiritual thing with some of her friends going on since forever. It never bothered me really, but I do think some of her views are questionable. Update 2. It's been a few weeks. Ex hasn't showed up at my door again since last time, thank the universe. She did, however, show up at my office looking for me last Monday, but I wasn't there, as I'm now working mostly from home to help my wife, who's on bed rest for the foreseeable future due to complications with her next pregnancy. I did go to the office on Thursday, and as I was leaving to go home, my ex's sister was waiting for me. We were close back then, but cut contact when the whole cheating thing happened, and my therapist basically advised me to. Anyway, she said she's been coming for a few days and waiting outside, hoping to see me, and she needed to talk to me, and it was really important. So we went to a cafe nearby, and she told me what my ex has been up to since the divorce. She sold the condo about 1.5 years after the divorce was finalized and moved into a house that she's renting. She said ex said it was a quick way to make money to buy all the stuff a kid would need growing up. As the time went on, her family saw stranger than normal behaviors in her. I'm not going to go into too much detail, otherwise we'd be here a long time, but essentially she was diagnosed with bipolar disorder about 2 years ago and was treated for a bit, but then she stopped. I talked to my lawyer, and he said that makes some things tricky, as she could defend not guilty by reason of insanity, but the fact that she's been refusing treatment for a while now would help my case. Sister said that she's sorry for how ex is acting, and she would help me with whatever I need with the case. She's still around her sister to try and mitigate her episodes for the sake of her niece. I asked why the authorities haven't gotten involved, and she said her parents are butting in for that not to happen. I couldn't stay longer. I had to get home before my sister-in-law had to leave, so we exchanged numbers and we'll be in contact if we need it. I have the hearing for the permanent restraining order this week, so hopefully that goes well. Also, she told me that my ex let it slip that she's not even sure who the biological dad is, because she was hooking up with 4 different people around the time that she conceived. When I learned this, I felt even more stupid that she wasn't just hooking up with one, and I had no clue. My girlfriend lied to me about an emergency to test my commitment to her. My girlfriend, who's 29, Andrea, and I, 29 male, have been together for a few months now. Everything has gone smoothly until yesterday when she pulled off a ridiculous stunt. She called me late at night to say that she's seriously hurt and having panic attacks and that no one is with her right now as her parents are out, which was true, they weren't home. She said that she's also got some chest pain and she thinks she's in real danger and that she's in a really bad state and can hardly breathe. She was heaving while she spoke. She begged me to help her, said that she's already called 911, but that she also wanted to let me know, and I was shocked. I took my car to rush towards her house, and it was only after reaching that I found out that she was joking about it. She met me joyfully and said that she only wanted to see how committed I am during an emergency, as that's an essential part of a relationship or something. I lost my temper and asked her what the heck her problem was. She said that she was just testing me, and I got ticked off. I called her some not nice names, and I told her that I did not deserve to be treated like this. She was crying and saying that she only wanted to check whether I'm a good fit and that I overreacted. I left the house immediately and haven't talked to her since. She's been texting me, but I just ignored her. Am I the jerk? Update. After talking to her about it, I've decided to give her a second chance. She's apologized a lot and promised to never do that again. I'll be more careful, of course, and I won't be trusting her blindly. But I have thought that I'd give her one chance, especially since she's shown herself to be regretful. Not the jerk. Run. She intentionally put you in a state of panic, causing you to drive in that state of panic, which is a recipe for disaster. An accident waiting to happen. You need to focus on the fact that she never gave your feelings any thought at all. To dismiss your feelings, she would have had to consider them. She didn't even think about you at all. Your panic was what she was looking for. It made her happy. It made her laugh. That's how sociopaths feel. If you were hurt in an accident on your way to help her, it would have been a home run for her. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his girlfriend? Please let us know. It was messed up what girlfriend did. There's no reason to do stupid things like that. But I think it's kind of a stretch to say that she would have been happy if he had been hurt on the way there. Am I the jerk for not cooking Thanksgiving dinner and spending the day at the beach instead? I, 27 female, have solely been responsible for cooking Thanksgiving dinner for 20 plus people for the last 8 years. I do all of the shopping, cooking, and setting up. Months before Thanksgiving, I start looking at grocery prices and tweaking recipes to fit dietary restrictions. Caribbean family, vegans and pescatarians, meat eaters. I also make enough for the college-aged kids to have leftovers. I usually make 3 turkeys, 2 party pans of mac and cheese, and a party pan of mashed potatoes, stuffing, green bean casserole, collard greens, yams, all sorts of stuff, from scratch. Plus, all the desserts, apple pie, sweet potato pie, cheesecake, homemade ice cream, and breads also from scratch. I start making stocks and doughs Tuesday night. I bake my bread for stuffing and make my cheesecake and pies Wednesday after work. Cook all day Thursday so we can sit down and start eating by 4 so my aunts who work the night shift as nurses can enjoy. Every year people invite unexpected guests and it becomes 30 plus. I would be okay if it were plus ones, but my mom invites her friends and their kids. My mom and aunt ask me to make additional turkeys and some sides for their units. I never feel appreciated for everything I do to make it special and accommodate everyone. This year, I'm separated from my husband, and I really don't feel like bending over backwards cooking for people who don't even leave me leftovers to make a sandwich the next day. This year, I've decided not to cook and just spend my day at the beach, the only bonus to living in Florida. I was asked how much the adults should Zelle me for Thanksgiving groceries at the beginning of the month, and I told them I'm not cooking. Today, I received a Zelle from my uncle, and when I returned it, he asked why. I reminded him and the family group chat that I wasn't cooking. Now they want me to cancel my plans and cook. Am I the jerk for not wanting to? Edit. This is my favorite holiday, but my separation has left me emotionally exhausted and without any passion to cook. Edit. I don't actually mind cooking for the family. I look forward to it. The unexpected guests a little. The thing bothering me this year is that I expected to spend the only holiday I look forward to with my husband. I wanted to share the dishes that I love and scheduled chaos with him. I'm upset because I don't have my husband. They may not understand it, but I took on this holiday because I enjoyed it. Update. I listened to you guys and I didn't cook. The weather wasn't the best, so I didn't end up at the beach, but I sat by the pool and did some work and journaling. I enjoyed margaritas by the pool and wine at dinner. I don't know how I was able to drink all day and get everything done by 4 p.m. Dinner was late. We didn't end up eating until 6 p.m., so the people who worked that night just took to-go plates and couldn't eat with us. My mom called a few times from the kitchen, asking how to turn on the oven, Make a pre-made ham and turkey. My aunt asked for the recipes that I previously emailed and asked if I could come over and supervise. I ignored the calls and texts. I did end up carving 2/3 of the turkey and helped clean up and went back to bed. My mom's friend ended up bringing herself and 6 other people empty-handed. The creepy family friend did the usual show up empty-handed, eat, grab to-go plates, and leave. My cousins were bummed they didn't get leftovers for finals. They were also shocked to see that their favorites weren't made and it didn't taste the same. No one took leftovers home besides my mom's friends, and they cleaned us out. I think they finally realized how much work goes into it because my aunt complained that she had to go to multiple stores even though she was making 1/3 of the food. My mom ordered from the fresh market, and that was too much. Thanksgiving Day, my husband and I spoke and had a great conversation about moving forward with the separation, what it's going to look like for us financially, and a rough timeline of when we should be legally divorced. Saturday morning, I get a call from my husband's local hospital saying that he was injured while running. He had a stress fracture that resulted in a complete break in multiple places and needs surgery. Since I'm legally still his wife and he has not updated his emergency contact, I flew up and I'm currently at his bedside hoping I can get his family out here to take over. He didn't expect to wake up with me being there, but he was happy and thinks we should try counseling. All in all, I'm emotionally drained. Working from his bedside, I should be able to take him back to our house tomorrow and get him set with his family and friends to take over. It's been nice being in a cold city and seeing him after so long, but I'm sure this marriage is over. Am I the jerk for kicking out my friend and ending the party after she fed my dog a treat? I, 28 female, always knew that once I could live alone, I wanted to have a dog. When I moved, I had that opportunity in the form of a relative's pet that needed to be rehomed. She was already very old, 13, deaf, and generally needed a lot of attention. It's been a year, and I love this dog. She truly changed my life. I'm absolutely an annoying dog mom. She's also very allergic to something that her vet and I are trying to figure out what it is. It manifests in dry, flaky skin that she will itch hard enough to bleed. We're trying a food allergy trial. This means she's on a very specific diet of a prescription dry food until a trial period of 8 to 9 weeks is over. If she does get something off menu, we have to start the trial period over. Most of my friends know this because I always complain how expensive the food is. Cut to the party. I invited a few close friends of mine to my place for a holiday shindig. Living far away, work, etc. usually keeps us apart, so I was super excited. I ordered us McDonald's. We all agreed beforehand to split a big order because why not, and made a ton of jokes to my dog about how none of it is for you, young lady, in front of everyone. I'll admit, this was a thinly veiled reminder for everyone else too. The food comes and we're all having a good time. I step away to find my friend, who's 25, and she's dropping a piece of fish fillet from my dog to gobble up in the kitchen. I freak out and ask her what she's doing. Again, my dog is deaf, so she just kept pawing at my friend for another piece, which she gave her, saying, "But she's so cute. A little piece of fish can't hurt her." I'll admit, I kind of lost it. We were 6 weeks into the trial, and now I would have to start all over, buying so much more expensive food. I'm sure I went off on her. I don't really remember. I saw red. I do remember telling everyone that I'm sorry, but I'm too angry to enjoy or host a party right now and asked everyone to leave. I told them to also feel free to take the remaining food and don't worry about paying me for their shares since I'm the reason the party is ending early. The next day, I apologized to my friend for yelling. She seemed very hurt and isn't very open to continuing the conversation. She says she honestly forgot and didn't see the harm. To be fair, fish was on the list of things that I don't suspect she's allergic to and may have mentioned that to the group. My dog is also on other medications that stop any harmful reactions to off-list foods. At most, she'll get flaky skin, but not super itchy or upset stomach or anything. My friends overall seem pretty split. Half the group thinks I'm justified and aren't upset with me for ending the party. The other half thinks that I'm overreacting over a piece of fish. Not the jerk. You don't feed another person's dog without permission, ever. For the last 2 years of my dog's life, she was on an extremely strict diet. Anything outside of this diet gave her pain and diarrhea. On top of that, she was incontinent due to her conditions, causing muscle waste. I do want to add that there are some grains and proteins that dogs often can't tolerate. Mine was very allergic to anything corn or poultry. Like even a whisper of those two ingredients would have serious effects on her. I'm so sorry you had to backtrack. Mine also did the food elimination diet via the vet, but it was a bit different than yours. Plus, I know their fish is breaded and fried, so it could have still affected your food trial. Am I the jerk for paying $21,000 to send my kid to private school behind my ex-wife's back? Our son is 8 and has an incredible curiosity about the world. His first and second grade teachers gave nothing but glowing praise in regards to both his intellectual growth and his demeanor. However, his third grade year has not gone well. His teacher has sent us several emails stating that our son does not pay attention in class and he's cold towards his classmates. When his mother and I asked him how school is going, he tells us that he hates it. He said, "All the teacher does is yell at the class to stop talking. Then the kids keep talking and we never do anything. I hate being there." I can see the light fading from his eyes every day, and every Sunday night, mid-September, he cries that he doesn't want to go to school. My son lives with his mother and spends weekends with me. We all live in the same town, and I would describe the relationship between his mother and I as cooperative, but bad feelings persist. I asked my son a few weeks ago if he wanted to change schools, and he said absolutely. I asked his mother if she would have any issue with me sending him to a highly regarded private school about 17 miles from our town. She reacted in a way that was not expected. She said I was being ridiculous and that it would be an undue burden on her to take him to a different school. Fair, and it would be unfair to her other kids if only one of her kids got to go to a private school. I added that I would take him and drop him off every day and pay for it 100%, and she still said no. I told her I don't want our son to waste his potential, nor do I want to fail him as a father. In essence, she responded that our son is just being a brat because he's bored. I registered him at this school and I paid the tuition. He starts in August. I told him what I had done and he was so excited. Naturally, upon hearing this news, his mother was angry. All she said was, "Fine, you tell him he isn't going because you think he's a brat." Am I the jerk? Her other kids are not yours, right? OP. Correct. Then not the jerk. She's not a good mom for how she's treating him. Half-siblings whose non-shared parents have different means get treated differently. That's just how life works. Besides, if your wife is currently with her other kid's father, then it's also not fair that your son has divorced parents while his siblings don't. Courts may not look favorably on you enrolling him without his mom's permission. I'm not sure, but I do think you might want to try for more custody. It really wouldn't surprise me if your son is starting to get treated as the black sheep in that household, especially as time goes on and the siblings get older. Am I the jerk for divorcing my wife after she changed her mind about having kids? I know how that sounds, but I just feel like I'm losing my mind. Before and after marriage, we've talked about and planned our future down to the very city we'd live in, and kids were always a part of it. Well, around September, I brought up when she'd want to start trying for a kid, and she got really cold and told me that she didn't want any. At first, I thought she may have gotten some health news, and when I told her that we could adopt if the idea of pregnancy wasn't for anymore, she kind of snapped on me and said that she wasn't trying to have this conversation at the time. A few days after this, I sat her down and asked what made her change her mind, and she got really frustrated with me that I'd even ask and pretty much said she doesn't need to explain herself to me. Since those two conversations, it was so strange. She kept trying to just move on and act as if those conversations never happened. So I straight up told her that we have to actually talk about it because this is bizarre. She told me I'm not gonna make her talk about anything. So the last couple of months have basically been her frustrated that I won't let this go. The kids thing is a big part of it, but if I just knew what was going on, I'd feel better. So I brought up divorce, and she told me that I'm trying to strong-arm her into giving birth. Not the jerk. Her refusing to even discuss it is the problem. You're not trying to strong-arm anyone. You're trying to have a healthy conversation about something that you believe the two of you were on the same page about, and she changed her mind. Just get the divorce and move on. She doesn't want kids, and having kids with her would be a huge mistake. Not the jerk. At this point, divorce is the only solution. If she relents and agrees to have a baby, she'll resent you and the baby. Just make your plans and file for divorce and hope it goes smoothly. Karen neighbor tries to steal my package. Huge mistake. So I had been waiting for my package that cost $700, was waiting for it like a hawk. I got a notification that the package was about 2 stops away, so I started watching live stream of my security camera waiting for the guy to deliver it. Amazon guy came and put a small envelope inside my mailbox, and I saw him take my big box to the neighbor across the street, and I saw that he rang the doorbell. The neighbor came out and they took it in. First, I thought, okay, maybe it's not mine. So I checked my orders and it said Delivered, handed directly to resident. That's when I knew it was in fact my package. I decided to wait about 30 minutes to give the neighbor a chance to bring it back, to just drop it off at my doorstep. But when I saw that she was not returning my package, I got my coat on and went straight to their house, rang the doorbell, and said, "Hi, I'm your neighbor from across the street. I saw that Amazon dropped off my package to your house, and it looks like they dropped off yours at mine." The woman immediately said, "Oh, I was confused. I thought my husband had ordered it." It was obvious she had every intention to keep it. The package came in 3 boxes, a really big one, another one sealed inside of it, and then another box, the actual item, inside of that second box. To my surprise, she had already opened the boxes. I don't believe for 1 second that she was confused. The label had my name and address right next to the part where she had to pull off the tape to open the big box. So then, she just wanted to give me the box of the actual item, which thankfully was still sealed. I guess she didn't open that one because she could see what it was and was probably going to wait to see if anyone would claim it. And I said, no, I'm going to need the other 2 boxes as well in case I need to return it. I watched her struggling to put all the boxes back into the big box, and then she gave it to me. I gave her her small envelope that Amazon dropped off at my house, untampered and sealed, and said thank you, which I regret saying because not one time did she say sorry or thank you. I bet she's done this before and just keeps packages that aren't hers. But the audacity to receive the package and open it. Had she lied and said she didn't receive it, I would have shown her the security footage, but I gave her no option to say that she didn't receive it. Honestly, if she had opened it by mistake and then brought it back to me apologizing for opening the package because she assumed it was hers, I would have been grateful and said not to worry and thanked her for bringing it back. I gave her the chance and the time to bring it back, but she did not. Now I refer to that house as the House of Thieves. I'd also report the delivery driver that claimed it was delivered and handed directly to resident, since it clearly wasn't. OP. Yeah, I already contacted Amazon. Do you have an HOA you can report your neighbor to? There's no telling how many other packages she's stolen like this. I can't believe the audacity of some people. Who in the right mind would just keep a package that obviously isn't for them? The driver himself really messed up too, and I hope you report him to Amazon. Every time I've reported a driver for being an idiot, I usually don't see them delivering anymore after that, so I'm thinking they get replaced once they get a complaint. I don't know where they find these people, to be honest. They deserve the jump scare they get from my fake rattlesnake that I leave by the front door. Oh, that is so not cool. Amazon drivers are the worst. Like, how hard is it to check the address before you drop off a package? I definitely report them to the higher-ups and be sure to follow up on it. I had a friend that delivered for Amazon, and he said that drivers typically suffer no consequences for their complaints unless you reach out to corporate directly, which will usually result in them getting fired. Call me crazy, but what if she just didn't check the label? Unless I'm expecting a package, I just assume whatever arrives is for my wife, so I leave it in the kitchen somewhere that she will see it. I think you've been reading too many of these Reddit stories, and you might be assuming your neighbors are out to get you. Reddit, the place where being the voice of reason gets you downvoted to heck. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his neighbor? Please let us know. Am I the jerk for printing out a map of the grocery store for my dad? I, 18 female, am the only daughter in a family of 4 boys, 15, 13, 10, and 8. Our dad is pretty much a single parent since he and our mom divorced when the boys were younger, and mom lives out of the country with her husband. It's more or less become my job to be the mother 2.0, which is fine, I guess. I'm doing college online, so it's not like I wouldn't be home to do stuff anyway. One of my unofficial jobs is to help my dad grocery shop. I used to go with him to do it, and I would make the list myself, and I'd just grab whatever we needed. But now that I drive the boys around for their extracurriculars, and I'm busy with school or chores when I'm not helping them, I really don't have the time. I just started writing the list and giving it to my dad so he could go out and get what we needed. Every single time this man has gone to the grocery store by himself, he's either completely forgotten about the list, remembered the list, then lost it, remembered the list but ignored it, or somehow could not find more than half of the things on it. It's hard to cook an actual dinner when literally half of what he ends up bringing home is frozen meals and pasta sauce, but no pasta. I've brought it up to him, but Dad keeps saying that if I would just make time to go with him Or if I went on my own, it would probably be easier to get what we needed. I said that we could switch jobs, so he takes the boys to their things and I get groceries, but he said he doesn't know their schedules and he wouldn't want to mess it up for them. He said he'd go grocery shopping today and asked me to go with him, but I was working on some stuff for my finals before I had to drive the 10-year-old and the 8-year-old to their practices, so I couldn't go. I started making a list like I usually do, but because I didn't want to end up with only half of what I had put on there, I went and printed the layout of the grocery store. I even went online and found out which aisle each product was supposed to be on, and I color-coded the stuff he needed to get. I left it for him on the table and then went to take the boys. While I was doing schoolwork during their practice, my dad called me, asking why I felt the need to color-code a map for him like he was a toddler in need of specific instruction. I replied saying that I only thought the map might make it easier for him to find the things I put on the list, since I also made sure that everything was in stock online. It's been hours since we've gotten back home, and he's very clearly upset with me, but he did get the stuff on the list this time. I don't know. I think maybe I just made him feel like an idiot, and that's why he's upset. Was the map thing a little too much? Not the jerk. Your dad is asking too much of you, and he's avoiding his responsibility as the parent. He could and should learn their schedules. He just doesn't want to. You should have a serious talk with him about how he either steps up or he hires help. Can't justify paying me? No problem. Just before lockdown, I worked for a small telecom company that did contract work for a national cell carrier. We'll call them Crab Inc. and Big Wireless. I was hired on as a full-time employee for Crab Inc. along with every other technician, and we were not contractors. Important later. I was good at my job. I've been in the field for over 20 years, so I knew my stuff, and most problems were easy enough to troubleshoot and repair. But sometimes we needed a second tech to help out with bigger issues, which is understandable in our field. Crab Inc. was shady, unbeknownst to us at the bottom of the ladder, but we were about to find out. About 4 months in, new orders came down the chain that from henceforth, we were to do double trips on every ticket. This meant we had to drive out with no parts, assess a problem, then make a return trip with parts to fix it. 2 trips equals double pay for the company. Even on simple things like pushing a reset button. 2 trips, no excuses. Then they began cutting our hours, tracking our every move, and redoing our timesheets after submitting it, with the excuse of, employees are stealing time and we're going to prove it. The latest rule was a good one. All employees must work at least 2 tickets each day in order to be considered for a full 8 hours of pay and 40 hours per week. No ticket, no pay. With this, they began holding mandatory bi-weekly meetings to go over every minute of our trips, overlaying GPS data, timestamps, travel distance, etc. They docked pay for gas station stops, bathroom breaks, phone calls, everything. They even tried to not pay us for these very meetings because our trucks were off and couldn't prove we were working. Buddy, I'm not a contractor. I'm a full-time employee. Enter glorious malicious compliance. See, the thing is, I don't take too kindly to people stealing from my paycheck and gaslighting me about it. And apparently, the other employees felt the same way. Give me one solid night of prep work and I'll beat you at your own game. The next weekend, I held a meeting of my own with the techs, and after some explanation, we all decided that the company was absolutely right. 2 trips, 2 tickets, every minute accounted for, and the GPS data to prove it. Monday morning, meeting rolls around, and every tech drove to the nearest site to have our mandatory 2-hour meeting. The trucks aren't at home and running the entire time. Our daily tickets come in, and we drive directly to the site, idle for 2 hours while we check out the problem, then do our second trip to get the parts, as instructed, and spend 2 hours fixing it, drive time not included. A second daily ticket comes in, and what's this? I can't seem to figure out the problem. I guess I'll have to call another tech who only had 1 ticket to help me. Glad he was free. Let's ponder this problem for 2 hours while wasting fuel. Now we need parts. Looks like we both have to go get them. Return trip complete. Another 2 hours to fix the problem. Let's see how we did. First ticket. 2 hours assessment plus 1 hour travel time, GPS logged. 2 hour return trip plus 1 hour travel time, GPS logged. Second ticket, same thing, all logged. Hey boss, Crab Inc. owes every tech 64 hours of work this week. Let's check the math and GPS logs just to be sure. Oh, and for some reason, the fuel expenses went up. But at least we have the GPS data you need for our extremely accurate PowerPoint presentation. Update per request. Crab Inc. folded from embezzlement, misappropriation of lockdown funds, and sued by Big Wireless for 2 trips, no excuse, among other things. There were a few jail sentences handed out. Not sure if anyone got a piece of that pie. Am I the jerk for giving my future mother-in-law an ultimatum around paying for our wedding venue? I, Victoria, 32, female, am marrying Alex, 48, male, in 2024. We live on the East Coast, but are both from the southern United States, and Alex's family is essentially royalty in their hometown. His parents have a very visible local business, sponsor kids' sports teams, tithe heavily in church, and have their own jingle in commercials. Alex's mother, Frida, decided right away that I'm a gold digger because I come from a tiny town that she refers to as a patch of dirt in the middle of nowhere, and my government salary, which is public record, is less than half of Alex's, though we're both government attorneys. She constantly goes between making digs about my bland wardrobe to making a big deal out of buying me things like coffee and implying that I should be grateful that she and his father Fred are so generous and can do things like host us over the holidays. At Thanksgiving, Alex and I said that we were close to finding a venue, but the one we were looking at had quoted us $25,000, which we didn't want to pay. Not because we didn't have the money, but because it was just out of our stated budget. Frida immediately said that of course Alex wouldn't want to pay that since he'd be paying all by himself, and made a show of telling us that she and Fred would pay for the wedding. At the same time, they said that they expected us to get a prenup because Alex needed to protect himself and his family in case anything happened. We were going to do one anyway, so we shrugged and agreed. Frida immediately began telling everyone in town that she and Fred were paying for the whole wedding, and people kept coming up to me with thinly disguised sympathy to say how nice it must be to have a dream wedding due to Frida's generosity. Alex and I engaged counsel and have been passing our prenup between ourselves and our lawyers. Frida pestered Alex about it so much that he finally told her the holdup is with my counsel because my assets are more complicated to deal with than his. Even though he's told her before that I'm not a gold digger and didn't need his money, it apparently didn't sink in until now. She looked up everything from my property records to salary scales at my old big law firm and apparently realized that I'm worth nearly as much as she and Fred are. When she confronted me, I told her that she could either pay for the venue and I would continue to publicly agree with everyone that she was being generous to her new daughter-in-law, or that she could back out. We had changed venues, and then I'd explain to everyone that she thought I had too much money. She hates both of these options, since one involves losing money, she thought she could lord over me, and the other involves losing face, since she told everyone in town I don't have any money and I'm after Alex's. So she ran off to bed with a migraine. Alex thinks I'm being too harsh on her, but I'm not so sure. Not the jerk, but you have to seriously consider marrying into a family like this. What you need to find out is where Alex stands with his parents and what his values are versus theirs. Is he a mama's boy that lets his mom make all the decisions for him, and he defers all decisions to her and his father? If he does, then you really need to think twice about marrying him. He needs to cut the apron strings and back you as his wife, future wife. You basically need to know that he will have your back and will stand up for you, and even to the point where he will limit contact with his parents if they manipulate and gaslight. Imagine you just got married, went on your honeymoon, and now you got home, but your sister-in-law has decided to move into your house while you were gone. That's exactly what happens in our next story. It just popped up on your screen. Give it a tap and come have a listen. You won't believe what happens next.